Out too far? A month?
That's what it is. I mean, try it.
Mm-hmm.
I think you won't, if we go out 2 weeks, we won't be purchasing that truck for December, which is fine. We'll be back to the original plan, is ordering it now and getting in place for next year.
Before we always
your other,
we always went with when,
your other option is separate the two.
Well, they're both going to be separated, if I'm not mistaken, if you can't finance two pieces of equipment with one loan, you'd have two loans, one for the excavator and one for the truck.
All right.
Depending on how you do that. If we were to self-bond, you can do that as long as the documents are correct.
Correct.
If you're doing a convention, if you're doing a loan on it, yeah, they're going to do that individually, but it depends on the packaging. If you went to the bond bank, it's a capital equipment purchase of two pieces of equipment, and that you can put into a single bond. So it depends. That's why I say it comes down to what you find out when you look at the options.
I was I was trying to steer away from the bond just because of the length of the loan. I was kind of hoping to get this over and done within 3 to 4 years. We've got $200,000 in the CIP account right now on just the truck. I was going to put 100 down on it. I was thinking to do that, and you're only financing 199, right? And I used the figures on the most expensive one. So that was the only reason I was kind of looking towards a loan instead of a bond.
Call it a bond, call it a loan, whichever. But I mean, it still comes down.
Still financed.
Comes down to the financing options.
Okay.
so can I ask one thing? I mean, I don't, and this is just me being, I don't know, maybe losing my memory. I don't remember ever having to do this. Usually what we did is,
Typically, we would have asked for the money to town meeting, and where we weren't financing it, we'd purchased the truck and moved on.
well, right, because that's what the ex-town manager would do too,
Correct.
because you would talk to him and
Yep.
you would pull the select board and stuff like that. Can we give Sue on a good deal as far as like what they come back with? Can she approve it?
$600,000?
Again, the ex-town manager used to do this all the time.
He's not here.
I know
You guys
that.
didn't want him here.
What was that?
You didn't want him here.
No, you take the statement back. That's not accurate.
Well, the reality is that
No,
if
no.
he did that, I think it was inappropriate. Put it that way.
Well, okay, but in this case, that's all I'm asking Rolf is what, is that a possibility?
Well, I think you're talking two different. If something were to happen and the truck became that's a manageable. The excavator is a bigger thing, and I think that's got to be looked at separately.
Okay.
So I mean, it depends. If all of a sudden one was found, you found one that was available that you could get the next day or whatever, then we would, you'd look at that a little bit different, because in that case, it's probably a better deal. But
Well, I think.
I mean, if the reality is it's one that's going to have to be built anyway.
Right.
Then, let's look at where all our options are.
I think the truck that's already in the pipeline's almost $40,000 more money, and we don't need the truck right now. We're all set for this winter.
Yeah.
The original, what I started with this was to get the truck in the pipeline, get it rolling, get everything going. And that's an option too. We could purchase the truck. I've got the money to purchase the truck, and then July 1st we purchase the equipment. That's what we did with the Western Star that we have right now, the one we just purchased. We ordered the truck, purchased it. It showed up. We paid for the truck out of last year, and we just a couple weeks ago paid the bill on the equipment on it.
Peter? Nathan, I'll tell you, I've had some amount of experience with keeping old engines and equipment running. So I appreciate that you put on the spot whenever you asked, well, are we talking about this season? Are we talking about 2 years? So worst case scenario, how would the snow removal, let's say, this winter with a moderate snow be impacted if you were down a dump?
Well, you always go into it hoping that the equipment you have is in good enough shape to run it through the winter. And that was our plan. We don't have, we've got one spare truck. And so if you had a broke down truck right now, it would impact it a little bit, but nothing, I don't think the people would see it. We have breakdowns all winter long.
But if that was the case, then you'd run a season of moderate snow with no backup.
Correct.
Good point. The original
Well,
motion,
the original motion was to investigate the
you can still do that.
the
yeah.
financing options. You can still do that,
Yep.
but I mean, if something changes, that can come
Change.
back to us at any time anyway. So the motion on the table is to investigate the financing options for the
Right.
truck and for the excavator. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed?
I'm abstaining.
One abstention. Motion is carried. Next item.
So get back to, get on the agenda.
Consideration of issuing quitclaim deed for lien payments.
All right, I make a motion to approve a Maine short form quitclaim deed without covenant for Carl Bartolomeo. And it's, I'm trying to think if there's an amount. No, it's book 31729, page 018, book 32517, page 61. I'm not seeing an amount.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? None? Motion's carried.
Okay, the second one is a motion to approve a Maine short form quitclaim deed without covenant for Veronica Danie, D-A-N-I-E. Sorry if I said that wrong. Do I have to read all the books and pages?
Yep.
All right. Book 33,358, page 278. Book 35,913, page 71. Book 39,673, page 117. Book 34,140, page 345. Book 37,080, page 21. Book 40,312, page 221. Book 35,064, page 336. Book 38,553, page 8.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? None? Motion is carried. Public comment. Any public comment? No public comment? Selectman comment?
I do, I'm sorry. I had let, as you guys are aware, Bob Jones passed away, and they are having his funeral this way, the 12th, yes, at 1, I believe, and it's at the Refuge Church in Wyndham, back tucked in there, if anybody is interested in going.
That's Bob Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bob was, he served on many different committees in the town, including the budget finance, including some subcommittees and things like that, so.
I mentioned it to the budget finance, but yeah, he was a good guy. He was a good soul. He really was. So I just wanted to put that out there.
He was a gentleman in the true sense of the word.
Yeah, he was.
Other comments? Okay. Town manager's report.
I actually have a few things to report. One is, I'd like to thank very much Victor Otley. He's the president of the Panther Pond Lake Association. He took myself and Chris and Jason and Janet out on a tour of Panther Pond. And he showed us the equipment that he uses for testing the water, testing the clarity, explained all the processes, showed us the various points of, not just points of interest, but from a town point of view and a potential, not potential hazard, I don't want to say that, because that lake is so clean, it is amazing, quite literally. But they've worked hard to get it that way. They have really, and not that others haven't, I just haven't seen Thomas Pond. But it was really interesting to see, and I had been to their annual meeting, to hear the care in the people's voices and how much they really love the area, love the people around the lake, love keeping it as pristine as they can with the water quality. And he explained the whole flipping of the lake and what the phosphorus does, and it was incredibly interesting. I was very thankful, and it was very informative as well, because Chris used to live on the pond, so he helped too to talk about some of the various things that were around it. And we had quite a discussion as well about a popular subject of late, which is the short-term rentals, because they really have, the same as all the lakes do, I think. There's a set of folks that have bought properties in order to have a business and rent short-term rentals. There's another population who have owned property on the lakes for years and rent them out for part of the year to be able to make their tax dollars. So somewhere in between there is, I think, where we need to be aiming at for any ordinances or anything that we're looking at, because I don't want to hurt one group by helping another on either side, regardless of which side of the coin you're on with that. So I think it's going to be quite an interesting activity to go through looking at those kind of ordinance changes when we get there. But I really appreciated going out. That was very eye-opening. And Joe.
Planning board subcommittee.
Yeah.
They're very good.
Mm-hmm.
They're an excellent group.
They are.
Yeah.
They work on the river, too,
They do.
by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, they had about 100 go to their annual meeting. It was quite well attended. That was nice. Joe Crocker couldn't be here tonight, but I asked him for a update of Parks and Rec, and he did create a document, and I'll send it out to the board. But they had quite a year this year. I can't even talk, I'm sorry. He says this season has been comparable to '22 in terms of activity and revenue generation. Our projected seasonal revenue ranges between 120 and 160, depending on weather conditions such as temperature and rainfall. And with three consecutive seasons free from COVID restrictions, we're now better positioned to predict our future revenue streams. In, let's see, for gate attendance, for instance, at Tasseltop, in '21, they had 14,788 for gate attendance. This year, 18,005. So in 3 years, they've gone up significantly. The summer camps have just exploded.
Yeah.
Very literally. They have waiting lists on everything that they do.
Yep.
They're now exploring having before and after school care with the school. He's in talks with Chris Howell
Nope.
and the school.
They did it.
They did it?
They
That's
did
done?
it.
Oh, I
So-
hadn't heard that.
Yep, and they just opened up applications. They can only do 25 kids, and they have to do it at RES because Jordan Small, their Wednesday early release, will goof these guys up over here. So what they're going to do is use, I think, the gym, the stage, and probably out back too. But nope, they've already. Riley, I believe it is, their, yes, the assistant, they put out a survey and they said parents were coming back left and right. It's $90 a week, and they're only doing it after school
Oh, it is
right
just
now.
after.
Yep, but it's, I think it's 3:30 to 5:30, I think it is. But nope, it's open, so it's a huge new thing for Raymond, yes.
Days it's new to
Yeah, Wednesday's noon to 5, I think, 5:30, yeah.
Shapes of things to come.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
So good for
How are
them.
they doing the Wednesday then?
Over there, they get out
No.
early Wednesday.
It would be on this side. They're taking those kids that are early, but these kids aren't out early, so what do? They just,
Well, it all depends on if they get in. Because what happens is they had to apply online for applications. I think it opened up
yeah, but either way,
September
you'll
5th.
probably get a mixture of each,
Yeah.
so.
Well, once, if, when they.
So on Wednesday, the gym and I don't know what you call
The
it,
stage.
the stage area, they would have to close that part down from
No,
on noon
it's
on.
it's all gonna be at RES. It's not up here.
Yeah, no, those across the street, they can't use. Yes.
I thought you said
Oh,
the other way
sorry.
around. Okay, I
No,
gotcha.
no,
Makes way more
because
sense.
I didn't understand what you were saying. No, because it would move them up
Gotcha.
here with having
Yeah.
kids in the.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, like, wait,
Yeah.
that doesn't work.
No.
Yeah, and their programs are doing incredible. In the lowest year, or the earliest year he has is the first year he was here, 2019. There were 107 kids. This year, 173 for the summer
Wow.
programs.
And the ski
I believe.
program's back. Yeah.
The ski program's back. They've got soccer going.
Starting tomorrow, the bingo for the seniors.
Oh, yes.
Wait a minute, but I read it was all ages.
It was, no, that's Sue Tara's thing. I thought that was just the seniors.
Okay, so there is the seniors, but
I
there's
saw all
also.
ages too.
It's all ages. But
Yeah.
it's-
Oh, is it?
It might be, yeah, it might be Deb Tar for that, but
Yeah, I don't, better be. I'm ready.
all ages,
Bingo.
Raymond Rec bingo.
Killing it.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah, I'll knit you a shawl.
September 11th,
Yeah.
which is Thursday, I think. Tomorrow, yeah.
Pom-poms.
Pom poms only, yeah.
Yeah.
I get all
6
the
to
different
7:30 at
colors.
the Raymond Village Church. No, I mean this.
Yeah.
Hey,
Don't start with the pom poms things again. Yeah. That's funny on those.
Yeah. But what's to me cool about all of this stuff, beyond the numbers and all of that, is it's bringing people together and doing more community type things. And I think that's what our society's missing more than anything else.
You know, I could just say, everything you mentioned up there is a non-real estate, tax-driven revenues. Boy, those are nice words.
Yeah, they are.
So other than that, I have confirming dates, October 8th and November 12th for your next two meetings.
I may not be able to do the 8th. Yeah, I'm on vacation that week, and I'm either going to Pennsylvania or having family come up, but that's right. I mean,
Is that a problem?
I don't know if I'm going down to Pennsylvania or having family come up. I mean,
which one? The next one or the one after?
October 8th. So, I mean, even if can we go possibly the next week? I don't know.
The 15th?
Yeah.
I believe that's, oh no, that would be Wednesday, never mind.
Is something else here that night?
I don't believe so, but let me
I don't mind
make
either way.
sure before I assume.
October 15th or 8th. Doesn't matter.
Anybody else have a problem with the 15th?
Nope.
Looking at my calendar now. I don't think so.
September, October. No, the 16th is budget finance, but there's nothing on the 15th.
Okay, so we'll have it the 15th instead.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Mhm.
Okay.
Could I just add a comment real quick? This is about the collaboration, Laurie Wallace, 36 Pulpit Rock Road. This is about the collaboration between the town and the citizens. Just wanted to add to the Parks and Rec update that the Raymond Lions Club donated money for 4 benches
Oh, nice.
for Sherry Gagnon Park. We want to do as much as we can for the community with our backs and our funds, so
Which,
Thank you.
what was that?
4 benches for the park.
No, from who?
Raymond Lions Club.
Okay.
That was
thank
really
you.
nice, thank you.
That is very nice.
And Nathan is putting them together?
Yeah, it's coming up, I think.
And you're the president now, I'm the president and secretary.
You are,
So Nathan, how are you gonna tether
Spokesperson.
those down so they don't flip over in that next Wednesday?
Not going anywhere.
Oh, too soon.
ow!
Too soon. Huh? November is, we're doing,
Nathan, that's when you pick the chair up and show them how the wind blows it.
All right,
12th.
That's great.
nothing else?
Yep.
A motion to adjourn?
Second?
All those in favor? Meeting is adjourned.
Good evening and welcome to the September 11th, 2024 Planning Board meeting for the Town of Raymond. The Planning Board will come to order. We do have a quorum, and we'll start with attendance.
Mike Richmond, Greg Foster,
Robert O'Neill.
Ed Kranich.
There's a public...
Kevin.
Oh, Kevin. I'm sorry, Kevin. You always sneak in there. There's a public proceeding, and unless the board specifically votes to go into executive session, you have the right to hear everything that is being said and to look at all the exhibits that are presented. Please notify the chair if you're unable to see or hear. The board works from a published agenda and will be considering tonight's items in the following order. We have the approval of the minutes of the July 10th meeting, no old business, and a site plan review and public hearing, followed by some staff communications and updates. In each instance, the burden is upon the applicant to demonstrate compliance with the provisions of applicable ordinances or state law. All persons speaking, including representatives of the applicant and members of the public, are asked to stand at the microphone, state their name, address, and affiliation with the application. For a person speaking shall address the chair. Any conversation must be held in abeyance until after the board has formally adjourned. After the board votes on the merits of each application, it will prepare a written notice of decision. Because the notice of decision may substantially affect any appeals rights, and also as a matter of courtesy, the board asks that those attending the meeting with regard to a specific application not leave until the board has completed its discussion. Appeals from adverse decisions must be filed with the Superior Court or as otherwise provided by law within 45 days of this board's decision. That's it. Okay, so our first business is the approval of the minutes for July 10th, 2024. Any corrections, additions, deletions?
Move to accept the minutes. Second.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Kevin? Aye. That's accepted. Actually, do have one set of business before we go to the new business. Our videographer for our November meeting is not going to be present. So Sue Look has asked us to reschedule it. The two dates that she gave me to reschedule are November 4th and November 8th. November 4th being a Monday, November 8th being a Friday, which I already discounted because it's a meeting on Friday.
Well, I guess you've got that now.
Yeah, so that's it's the 4th. I just want to throw the 8th out there just in case.
Oh, gosh.
Is that a problem for anybody?
No, not for me.
Kevin, you okay with November 4th?
Looks good on my calendar.
Okay.
Day before Election Day.
What time is it?
It'll be our same time.
7:00.
Yeah. All right, so November 4th. And now to our new business. Site plan review and a public hearing. I'm just going to go with Ross and Peter because I'm going to mispronounce that name.
Bachelor or Bernier? Which one?
Oh, it's Bachelor. I would have gotten that probably close.
Yeah.
Bernier, I would have had another problem. I said Bachelor, I figured I wasn't going to get that one. All right. Jim, would you start us off?
Sure. This is for you tonight for private road extension. The board may remember they did a site walk last December for this. We walked the entire road and made some suggestions to the applicant for bringing Lookout Lane up to private road standard. With that, we've made some recommendations. They finally have got back. To create a lot at the end of the road, they need to place a hammerhead. They can acquire the necessary frontage off the hammerhead. That hammerhead has to be built to town standards. Tonight before you is a plan. I don't know if they have started construction yet on this or in progress. However, it needs to be, there are some things that need to be brought in to make sure that it complies with the town standards. This evening, we did get a late memo from Wayne. I don't think Wayne is on, but basically it's the standard Wayne memo for requirements of no parking signs and making sure it has adequate radiuses for fire trucks. I think the recommendation was, because this is at the end of the road, we wanted them to increase the width down to the first driveway to an overall 16-foot width, 12-foot wide with 2-foot shoulders, up to the point of the turnaround. With the layout you have before you this evening, they would have to obviously bring that improvement within the confines of the right-of-way limit. And then there may have to be some minor drainage improvements because the land kind of starts sloping downhill away. And I think they may need a culvert under the leg of the driveway or turnout for the end of the T turnaround. The applicants are here, so we'll let them description. This is in the RR zone. It is in the watershed of, I believe, Panther Pond, and given its limited size, I don't think there's much they need to do for stormwater. It's a very small amount of impervious they're creating here. They may need a buffer or something like that, depending on what they end up doing with the drainage on the road.
Is this the project Dustin walked us through?
No, it was the owner. Remember Mr., I think it was
Peter.
Oh, yeah, right, okay.
The feisty old man.
Yeah. Yep, okay.
He himself is an engineer.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
he worked for Grondin for years.
Yep,
Yeah, in the state.
Yeah.
yep. Okay, I'm at the right project now. All right, would you like to tell us what you're going to do? Yep. You have to go up there, state your name.
I'm Ross Batchelder. I'm Peter Bernier's grandson. Just looking to build a 30 by 40 above garage apartment on our 2.55 acre lot that was gifted to us. We're gonna build the turnaround to all the road specs we have, widen the road out. The road was 12. We just cleaned the shoulders off because it was overgrown. So we did that this fall, I believe it was. And we dug the test holes to prove that the road was built to town standards, and that's what you have pictures of. And we're building the turnaround to the same standards that have been presented to us.
Okay. Pretty simple.
Pretty simple stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of us making sure we get, a plan that shows the correct grading that we want for the terminus. It's a small footprint, basically, we're dealing with here, because we've already done the shoulders. So I think we feel comfortable that you could make this a condition that, they have to comply with the fire departments and our comments with regards to grading and drainage. I think those all can be handled primarily in the field or post-approval.
So do we have a drawing for this? I see you have one there. Is there?
There's a couple of them. I don't know if you guys.
Fire departments and our comments with regards to grading and drainage. I think those all can be handled primarily in the field or
What's
I think that's Wayne.
It's me.
Oh, it's you.
It's like a delay.
the delay, huh?
So they have the right-of-way marked out. They kind of show where I think there's an existing road or woods road that goes down through there. I think that just needs to be rotated and brought into the right-of-way confines a little bit. And we provided a memo and discussing various aspects we're looking for.
Did you say you had correspondence from Wayne?
Yeah, tonight we got a late memo from Wayne, and basically within that, what do they do with it? It's the standard dead end.
Yep.
Fire department. We would just make it compliant that whatever conditions you put, that it be and include this.
Okay. Did you get a copy of that by chance?
Probably didn't. I didn't get it
Yeah, I haven't.
this afternoon.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either.
Yeah, I've
But
not.
we can give it to
Okay.
It's the standard
Okay.
language for no parking signs.
Actually, I might
Sorry
have
about
that
guys.
from.
I didn't see that yet.
Okay.
Is it the like it was like a pamphlet, like a 3-page?
Yep.
Yep, we did get that either at the site walk or when I went to the town.
Okay.
I might have gotten something when I met with Brent.
Oh, yeah, this one is
Well,
dated.
I'll send the new one to you tomorrow.
The one that I
Perfect.
got this evening was dated October 4th, but he sent it to me tonight, so.
Yeah, I do have that copy
Yeah, that-
then.
Okay. And then you're okay with everything that's in there?
Yep.
Okay.
And when we did the site walk, we talked because we had ledge on one side and the wetland on the other, so it didn't have to be the exact hammerhead as long as there was enough radius for the fire truck.
It has to, the only thing, it has to stay within the confines of whatever you designated for your right-of-way. So you've got that kind of T-shape there.
Yep.
Those improvements have to, within the confines of that
Right. It
T-shape.
can rotate and.
It can rotate a little bit, but the turnaround for the fire department has to be within that T.
Right.
Basically. So you can modify it a little bit, but there's not a whole lot of wiggle room.
Well, what are you trying to do in modifying it?
I was gonna get the turning radius because I have the specs on a fire truck, so it'll be large enough for a fire truck to spin around. But we have a telephone pole and wetland on one side and ledge and a property line on the other.
Yep.
So we can't, exactly do that right at the mouth. And we had talked about it during the site
It
walk.
doesn't have to be perfectly centered in the middle of it. You have a little bit of wiggle room, but, again, I think once you get it going in the field, once you get it staked out, we can work with you as far as, getting it exactly how it should fit. We just have to make sure it's in the right space because we've got deeded right away here.
Right.
Wayne asked for an auto turn, the template.
Yeah, and that's what he's talking about, is trying to design that so it meets that.
Okay, he's got that.
Yeah, he's got
software he can do it.
I don't know if he's got the software to do it, but I think we can, if we have the radius, we can construct it.
Okay. So there'll be a plot plan showing all that, because this
Right,
really
I
doesn't
think
show.
that's where, tonight we can make approvals with conditions, but then we need a return plot plan with those conditions and to be signed. So that's basically what, we'll have to upgrade this plan a little bit based on the conditions the board sets forth.
Okay.
Then once you have that, then you're off to the races. It has to be recorded. You have to be recorded at the registry as well.
And I do have the 3 plans with the signature block here. That was asked to have. Is that something?
Well, we may have to wait on that.
Yeah, I don't
We may
think
have
we
to
can-
wait on, yeah, they were trying to get it signed tonight, but I think we'll have to get some conditions on that and make some changes.
What?
It's the same plan you're
It's the
looking
same- it's
at,
the
but it's
plan
just
you're
got the
looking at.
Oh, okay,
signature
that's
blocks.
the block, yeah. Yeah, we'd have to get the conditions put on
We have
that.
to get the conditions put on that, and then we'd probably want a little grading shown and the drainage shown as well.
Right.
Minor stuff, but,
Which there should be. Is that the topographic one that shows the grading?
Good evening and welcome to the Monday, November 4th, 2024 Planning Board meeting for the town of Raymond. The Planning Board will come to order. The board does have a quorum, and we'll start with roll call.
Stephen Clark.
Mike Richmond.
Robert O'Neill
Ed Kranich. Mark Childs.
Kevin Woodbury.
by Zoom. This is a public proceeding, and unless the board specifically votes to go into executive session, you have the right to hear everything that is being said and to look at all the exhibits that are presented. Please notify the chair if you are unable to see or hear. The board works from a published agenda, and we'll be considering tonight's items in the following order. We have the approval of the minutes of the October 7th meeting. We have no old business. We have a sketch plan review submitted by applicant Brandon Chase. And then we'll move to a workshop to start looking at a series of administrative ordinance changes. In each instance, the burden is upon the applicant to demonstrate compliance with the provisions of the applicable ordinances or state law. All persons speaking, including representatives of the applicant and members of the public, are asked to stand at the microphone, state their name, address, and affiliation with the application. All persons speaking shall address the chairman. After the board votes on the merits of each application, it will prepare a written notice of decision, because the notice of decision may substantially affect any appeals rights, and also as a matter of courtesy, the board asks that those attending the meeting with regard to a specific application not leave until the board has completed its discussion. Appeals from adverse decisions must be filed with the Superior Court or as otherwise provided by law within 45 days of this board's decision. Also, to be certain that you preserve your individual rights to file such an appeal, you must be certain that the board records evidence of your appearance this evening. Okay. First up, the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes of October 9th as submitted.
Are there any discussion, changes, or second?
I second that.
Second, no other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Kevin goes yes, done, approved. Onto the pile. Okay, new business sketch plan review for a cluster subdivision. Jim or Brett, who wants to do that? Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tonight you have before you an application for major subdivision for an 11-lot cluster subdivision on a parcel of land located off Raymond Cape Road. The property is identified as tax map 4, lot 29, and sits on approximately 37.3 acres of land. It is located in the LRR2, as all of the Cape is in a shoreline zone. So in addition to subdivision standards, you also want to be acclimated to shoreline zoning. As mentioned, this is before you tonight is a sketch. You do not need to take any formal vote, with the exception, because this qualifies as a cluster subdivision. Technically, we're supposed to look at it from a conventional standpoint versus a cluster subdivision. However, I do believe that this was before the board a couple years ago, and then withdrew. And I think at that time, the board decided that it wanted to see a cluster, so you could waive the conventional if you decide to, but I would advise tonight that you make some vote for acceptance, as this is a cluster subdivision. Again, this is in the shoreline zoning, so you just have to pay attention to certain coverages on the lot. I provided you a memo with some bullet points. I think the biggest concern will be cluster, open space, probably stormwater review. Verify make sure that the length to width ratio doesn't exceed 3 to 1. And then anything with street design, make sure again that we comply with the shoreline zoning standards. I believe we have now cleaned that up, because before I think we had a situation down on Raymond Cape where we had a road that was 10% and our shoreline zoning said 8%.
Yep.
So I think we have matched those together now, so that shouldn't be an issue. There is also a memo in here from Wayne with regards to fire. I think it's the typical Wayne, just outlining all the requirements, sprinklers, availability of hydrants, turnaround, accessibility, etc. The road shown on here, I can't remember the exact length, but it does have a hammerhead, only one hammerhead turnaround. and there were some wetland delineations, and a report is in here. Based on that, I feel the board could make a determination tonight that it's accepting of the cluster development to let the applicant move forward, but the applicant is here. We can let them make a presentation, or you may answer any questions you have for them.
Thanks, Jim. I think we'll go right to the applicant.
Good evening, Andy Morrill, civil engineer with BH2M. Also with me is the applicant, Brandon Chase. Jim did a heck of a job there introducing the project. I will just point out a few things. This subdivision was before the board a couple years ago. As you all know, there was a cluster layout at that time. I think there was discussion about a cluster subdivision being the preferred approach. Applicant would like to proceed that way if the board feels the same way at this time. Our hope is to limit the amount of road, limit the impacts to the natural resources on site. So you'll see the layout as we've got it before you tonight is quite a bit less infrastructure than what was before you before, if those board members remember. A few other changes to the site. The applicant did cut out an outsale lot on the northern limits of the parcel, shown on the plan as an outsale lot sold to ELN Homes. That lot, I understand, has been built on and sold. So the private way, as it's shown, is about 1,050 feet in length. 21.3 acres of open space, as we've got it shown on the plan currently. We tried to design the open space so that it touched all of the lots. We've got it kind of going behind some of the lots, and even down along Raymond Cape Road, we've got a stretch of open space in the front of the project. Subsurface wastewater disposal, drilled wells, underground utilities. We did do some preliminary density calcs, which you can see in note number 12 on the sketch plan, showing that the parcel can support 11 lots. The applicant is aware that sprinkling of the homes is most likely going to be required. We did receive staff's comments. Thanks for those, Jim. Appreciate that. We'll certainly, any submissions moving forward, we'll certainly address those items and make sure all that stuff is in your packet and available for you guys. As the board knows, sketch plan is not only a great opportunity for us as the applicant to kind of introduce the project to you guys and any abutters, but it's a great opportunity for you guys to give us guidance before we jump into the design. So we welcome any comments or direction from the board this evening, so we can use that as we jump into the design process. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll throw it back to you and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Yep.
I think, I do remember we did a site walk on this. Mike, you were with us, right, for the site walk? Yeah, so we're okay. Does anybody think they need to see it again before we all? Kevin, you okay with the site walk?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
there.
We were there, so let's check that off.
I'm just going to waive that.
We're going to waive the site walk for the second time.
Thank you.
Let's, let's first discuss whether or not we want to see a full layout, or if we're happy with the cluster layout. The ordinance does require both to be presented at the same time, but we did look and say, to Andrew, right?
Yes.
As Andrew said, we did kind of lean towards the cluster subdivision the last time we were looking at this. We can waive the full one, the conventional, and stay with what being presented, or we can ask for the next time around both to come in so that we can have a visual comparison as to what it would look like if it was a conventional subdivision. Anyone have any comments, thoughts?
I prefer personally the conventional, I mean I'm sorry, not conventional.
Cluster.
Cluster. We did evaluate it before, it wasn't really that much different.
Yeah, I agree. I think the cluster is going to be the best approach for this.
Kevin, you have any thoughts?
No, I'm on board with the cluster. It looks pretty good.
Okay. So I think you can take that as clusters goes okay.
Great.
And you can, you don't need to come in with a conventional layout.
Great, we appreciate that, thank you.
How do you intend to delineate on the ground the open space?
Well, I guess that's a good question. So we'll certainly have, property corners at the back of the property, which would delineate the back of the lots versus the open space. But we could certainly have some kind of discussion about some kind of more permanent delineation between the open space and the back of those lots. Right now, I think that strip of land that I have behind those lots, I think is either 20 or 25 feet wide, kind of on the back of those lots.
Yeah, I think it's a nice idea. I just don't see in practice how it just is not going to become part of the lot.
Right.
Well, the lot, if I can, the
Yeah.
back of those lots will have pins.
Right.
The only thing you could do is either flag or mark the trees. Are there trees there, or is it all cleared?
No, there's definitely trees.
And what they could do is they could either blaze or paint something on the trees to
Yeah,
help
that would
delineate.
work.
Because you'd have the pins, and then if they could blaze the trees that say edge of property or open space, open space access or something to that effect, even they just some bright orange blazing or something like that, or red or something, just to delineate so people are very aware that, one, they're not on ELM homes or they're not on the properties to the south.
Can I ask a naive question? Those long fingers of open space that lead all the way to Raymond Cape Road, is that part of the requirement?
No.
Or is that
No.
something the applicant is?
The applicant's provided that.
So
I think the only thing that we require is a 50-foot access, either off the internal road or the Raymond Cape Road.
So out of curiosity, I guess I'd ask, is there a specific reason for that, or?
We find that a lot of people, everybody likes to be touching the open space so they can go from their house directly to the open space, and they could do a loop, say, of walking through the open space rather than, yes, they could walk down the road to get to the open space and go on, but
It could be a trail.
it could be a trail, and they could leave directly from their house and get into the open space.
Yeah, but that sounds nice.
Thank you.
The open space on the, I guess, east side of the property, will that remain? It seems logical to me if you wanted to extend the road straight back and add more houses in the future. Can you do that, or is this open space locked in?
Yeah, that open space would forever be remained as open space.
Okay.
So the parcel can only support 11 lots, so.
And it has to support a certain amount of open space, plus the fact that they have a net density that they can't exceed. So there would have to be documents explicitly laying out how in perpetuity this open space would be held by the homeowners association.
Does the Skillins property have access to another way, or is it?
Yeah, I think they come in.
Do they come in?
Yeah, that's 302 side.
Yeah.
That's a 302 side?
Yep.
Because I think that Bridle Path, or it was an old subdivision, I think that wound up in the back there, and I
Yep.
think Skillins had access to 302. They're long, narrow, big lots.
Okay. Are there any other comments?
The one thing that I also like to point out, Andy, is that with these smaller lots in the cluster, typically we like to see the house layout and an idea of how these lay out. Obviously, you're gonna get test pits and everything. I think the couple that'll be a little bit challenging will be 7 and 6 because of the wetlands there and what impacts that could have, and probably 3.
Mm-hmm.
I think 4, you got enough room. So we just want to see how those are gonna, how those house lots could be laid out.
Yep,
Not
I
saying it's-
assume you want to see house, driveway, septic,
Yeah,
well.
I can't speak for the board, but typically we just like to see a typical footprint.
Yep.
We understand that the house design will be in flux.
4 as well, Jim. 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Typically, when we do that, when we show a house, we'll put a kind of a blanket note on the plan that says that, the developer's not held to this house
Yeah, I would
configuration, but,
I typically try to go to a little bit bigger house than maybe normal, so that
Yeah.
if they go smaller, then it's accounted for in your stormwater and things like that.
Yep, absolutely.
On your next submission, could you include the driveway on the outsale lot? It seems like it might be close to your.
I think it's on there, isn't it? Or is that, no, that goes
That's
to-
actually the driveway for
Trust.
the lot even further to the north.
Yep.
Yes, I can add the driveway and house for the out sale lot.
And his good point is that sold within 5 years, correct?
Yes, it has.
So it's part of the subdivision, but we won't be reviewing it because it's a lot of record, but it has to be part of this plan because it's connected to the mother parcel. With that said, please give us the site distance off of whatever the private way will be named.
Sure.
You get a little bit of a bend to the south, but I think you're good, but I can't recall the topography. Was it 35 or 40 speed limit?
I want to say it's 35.
Yeah, it's 35.
35.
Yep.
They're advisory, aren't they?
That means they're going 50.
Exactly.
And this is below, you've maintained that this is below DEP stormwater management permit, so now the town's ordinances will kick in for similar
Right.
reviews. But you don't have to file for the state permit.
Correct. Right. And I was talking to the applicant, there may be some slight layout changes. I know the house that sits on the out sale lot is kind of facing towards this parcel. We may extend lot 1 a little bit, which may make our road slightly longer when we come back to you guys. Just concerned about those two houses and their proximity to each other, so.
Yeah, because you really have 2 windows on lot 2, right? But
Correct.
Probably,
yeah. The small little triangular window is not much of a window. It's a pretty small little area there. You probably, I would imagine, build lot 2 over where it, where the lot deepens out over
right,
there.
Yep. Underground utilities.
Yes.
You're gonna come in off, is the pole on your side or the other side?
I believe it is on our side.
Okay. If it's on your side, you can just drop and come in. If it's not, you can do a drop. Typically, we allow a drop pole and come in.
Okay.
I think we've, just make sure you check the cluster development standards as a separate article 13 in the land use code for that.
Okay.
Other than that, I think, board have any questions besides me?
Yeah, I think we're pretty, I don't think, it's a normal submission.
We're good.
Oh, go ahead.
Yep, I'm good. No, I'm good.
I think we're good. Do you have any other questions you need from us?
No, we appreciate you guys giving us some direction this evening, and we'll see you when we come back. Thank you.
Do we need to make a motion to accept the cluster concept?
It'd probably be best if you did, just for the record.
I think,
I know you kind of took a straw poll,
Yeah, I think-
but I think, to his point, we're supposed to do it by the ordinance to,
All right.
the board's supposed to vote, so.
Okay. I move that we accept the cluster development concept for this project.
Second
Second.
that motion.
any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Done.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Andrew.
Sounds like a pirate. Aye.
Yeah.
Aye. Aye.
All right, we'll move to our workshop on almost all of Brett's work here. Brett, since you put most of this together, I think, how would you guys like to go through this? I mean, a lot of the administrative stuff, I think, is pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Agree.
I don't think we need a discussion on every one of them, do we?
Not everyone, no.
No.
Okay. So let's take a look. The extension of the approvals permit. That is just actually cleaning up what we've already have. Right?
Yeah, correct. I think staff-wise, I think we kind of debated a little bit how it could be interpreted. So the addition of that verbiage there is just kind of meant to kind of clarify when that should start.
Okay. The street ordinance, clarification, reviewing authority. Anybody got any thoughts? I think it's pretty straightforward.
Yep.
Okay.
That was one that came from Board of Appeal? No.
No, that's the zoning board is in the back. Okay, it takes you that one, that one.
This is the right one.
The number of hard copy submissions, I don't think everybody's okay with that.
Yeah,
Last time we talked, right? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, Kevin, jump in. I'm not really looking at you if you have something. Number of hard copy submissions, the second one, same thing, just another change to 12. And again, hard copy submissions. 6, again, there's another hard copy submissions. I just remember us changing these not that long ago, but.
Well, I think we changed to different sizes. I think the numbers.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, we went to the smaller size for you folks.
All right, Article 7, Section 2B, again, changes, number of submission changes. Article 7, 2B, number of changes. Plus one digital copy is new, isn't it?
Yes. I think in
Is that for you guys, or is that for us? PDF?
Yeah, for the record.
For the
and
record, for the
also-
town, and if a butters come in, then we can give them the PDF versus making copies.
Okay. Everyone all right with that?
Yep.
Okay, then we get to the piers, docks, and wharfs, which came out of an appeal that went to the zoning board of appeal. I think the only thing in here that is really, I mean, one is just adding a definition. I don't think that's a problem.
Did you have one before that, that was shore frontage?
Yeah, that is in here. The shore,
Okay.
oh, is that, yeah, you're right, it is in front of it. So our ordinance mixes and combines shore and road frontage for determining the dock. And I think the zoning board of appeal would like clarification of that, which makes sense. Anyone have any thoughts? I would.
From a code enforcement standpoint,
Yep.
do you require 225? Or if somebody put a dock in, or can it be less?
I think it's a requirement, the 225, because I went through that, me and my father down on Eastern Painted.
Okay.
I
So
mean, there are plenty of older lots that have less than 225 that get docks.
Plenty.
So these older lots would all be
Grandfathered.
grandfathered, so.
Yeah, so it's
I
anything,
mean,
it's
most,
anything new.
almost all the shoreline is lots.
So
over-
is there just for curiosity then, should we have a statement in there saying that based on a certain date, a lot of record is exempt?
It's gonna be almost every lot on the waterfront, on the lakefront, right? I mean, it's,
I know,
I
but
wonder how this came, do we have that much waterfront property still left to be developed?
Not really.
I don't think so.
Did it come about because it just said frontage?
Yeah, it came up because,
It only said frontage, it didn't
Yeah,
specify
because we
whether it
don't-
was water or road frontage?
yes.
yes.
Okay.
So somebody may have tried to say, in maybe an appellate situation, that they had the road frontage, therefore they had lake frontage.
Right.
I don't know the exact circumstances, but I'm guessing that's how it may have derived.
Well, the easy fix would be just to remove road frontage.
But the road frontage is in there for building, you see what I'm saying, it's in the zoning standards?
But there would have to be a lot to begin with.
Right.
So if it's an approved lot, right, it'd have to be.
Well, if somebody's splitting, say somebody splits a lot, it doesn't even come to the board, they just have a big lot and they split it, they have to have 225 feet of road frontage.
Right.
But then the question becomes, under the dock, do you follow the road frontage or the shore frontage?
Yeah, so if you just remove road frontage, then everything stands, right? Am I missing something? So you have to have 225 shore frontage for a new lot.
But is this is in the, under the shoreland zoning, is this under the zoning requirements, or is it under dock provisions? Because I think it's just in the general lot requirements. So you
Right.
can't get rid of the road frontage. I think what you gotta do is put something in here that says specifically for dock purposes, the applicant's required to have two
Right,
hundred
'cause you
twenty-five
could-
feet of shorefront, because this is covering everything in the shoreline zoning, all the lot.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Is that,
You may have 225 at the road and you only get 175 down at the water.
Exactly,
So you may not be
exactly.
applicable for a dock.
Right, exactly.
I think to create a new shoreland,
Shore
Front-
frontage
for
for dock,
frontage.
for docks.
just a lot in general, you still need the 225 to create that lot
Okay.
currently.
so Jim, it's under piers, docks, wharfs, bridges, and other structures that extend over the normal high water line for bodies or wetlands. So I don't see it addressing all lots.
350.
It's not in it,
56.
yeah, it's on, oh, this doesn't have page numbers, but it's 6.4.
Right, but under that section of the ordinance, what I'm getting at is, then if you go to the lot requirements, that's where the shore frontage and all these other standards come from, that's all.
Yeah, but if we change it, if we don't include the road frontage in this section for docks, it does not going to affect the road frontage for a lot.
Yeah. It doesn't really, I think the problem is under that section 350.64,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it mentions either one frontages under that section. If we go
Oh.
back to the, you gotta go back to the zoning the zoning,
Oh, so it's not, oh, I see, understand. The one.
so then you gotta go back to the zoning requirement itself for the shoreline zoning, which is back in the beginning of Article 6, I think. 162.
Yeah, I didn't see it at all here.
So if you go back to page 162,
Yeah, mine doesn't have page numbers, but where are you, what article are you in?
Article 6, right at the beginning of Article 6 for shoreline zoning, 356, 1. Or 6.2, actually, 350-6.2.
Point two. Minimum lot standard, okay.
See how in a B, shore and road frontage, so that's the
Oh,
lot
okay.
standards, you know.
Yep.
So I think either to your point, either you gotta put it in the dock section,
Mm-hmm.
or in this section, you put in there for docks, minimum required is 225 feet of shore frontage. I think that's the easiest way to clean that up. Or you put an asterisk or something, I don't know. See, these are standards for single family or any structure.
Okay.
So I think that's why the ZBA was confused. It's shouldn't be, because it says and. Which
There was a little bit of back and forth when we were getting our dock.
yeah, but I mean, it says road and shore, so you have to have both conditions to qualify. But it would probably be clearer language if you just put in there, you know, either under the dock section, that you must have the minimum shorefront property meeting frontage, some statement like that. Either in the dock section.
In the dock section, and.
Yeah, I think it's that simple. In the dock section, you say must meet the applicable minimum shorefront requirement. I don't think it says that, does it?
So we add M to 50-6.4? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you can, yeah, probably
Yeah.
just add in.
Add M.
Yeah, or you could add the specific number to the shore and road frontage standard section. That way,
Right.
it's all the numbers are within one section. So if the town were to ever want to change any of their numbers, they don't have to go back and change it in 2 different locations. All the numbers they are interested in are all in one
So
section.
what are you suggesting, Brett? To where?
If you just defined the specific
In
within
subparagraph
the,
B?
yeah, within the minimum lot standards and setbacks, B, just within there, you could just spell out the specific number in case
Sure.
it were ever to change.
Yep.
That way it's just a one
It's
and done.
easier. Okay.
Yeah, because it says like private recreation.
Yes,
so it's
yes.
2.5. I think you
Yes.
just put, you could do under 1D, right? You do under 1D. You can just spell out for
Yep,
docks.
yeah, we can add one here.
Under 1D for docks, you can just put in there minimum 225 feet of shore frontage.
Okay.
That way, if you, to your point, if you have to change it, you only do it one spot.
Yeah.
Okay, next one is just adding a definition of a dock.
Hickory dickory dock.
I think it's okay. And then the last one from the zoning board of appeals is dock length. So. Which is kind of interesting. I think from the verbiage is not really clear as to what you can do.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you see a lot of docks that have the T formation on the end.
Yeah, that's
lot.
how you would normally have it to be in the.
Right, because you got a boat slip or
Yep.
something,
Nope.
so I guess,
The one in the middle doesn't make sense, like in this picture.
Well, I think they were just doing,
yeah, I think you
Yeah,
typically see it on the end,
drawings,
right?
yeah,
You
to
see-
see
you
various
see- you-
configurations.
Usually you see an L or a T,
Yeah.
usually, you know, but to your point, what's width, what's length?
so this is a little bit more difficult.
I guess I don't understand the purpose of having 12 feet wide by 10 feet wide at the beginning either, opposed to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
No, that one I don't understand. I get the 10 by 6, that's kind of the T, or it would be on, typically you see them on the end,
mm-hmm.
but I don't understand the two
Side by each.
side by each. It's kind of a, I guess you call it a,
It'd be more of
I
a.
think it's just asking if it should be allowed, and talking to Chris, we decided that that's not allowed. Putting
This
them side
picture
by
is
side.
not, oh,
The picture's asking what should be allowed,
Right.
what shouldn't be
Oh,
allowed.
okay.
And when we talked about it, we decided that the middle one, as awkward as it is, we would allow that one, but the kind of the platform at the end, the 2 6x10s, because you're creating kind of a gathering area, and that's really not what I don't
Right.
think we
No,
want
I
to see.
definitely agree with you that the front end, the 2 6x10s should not be allowed. Then it becomes, how long or wide could that middle section be?
Right.
As long as it, I guess as long as the minimum dimension doesn't exceed 6 feet, it could be as long as it wants. Because, I mean, you could go out,
I thought there was a distance in between from shore, like when you're in a cove, you can't extend further than X amount, whatever the open distance space is. Maybe I'm interpreting
no,
that wrong.
right, into the water.
Right.
I don't think there is a maximum distance. It's to get to navigable water essentially,
Okay.
and not inhibit somebody else
Space.
getting into.
I think you got into this when you got
There's some
Marina.
good neighbor stuff
Yeah.
going on there, but.
That's, we had to, could figure out who has the enforcement, right?
Right.
I think it would be helpful to show which side is the shore on this diagram.
I was thinking the same thing.
Sorry, not being a wise guy, but
I was thinking the same thing, and I thought about it. I think it's just a representation of all different options. Doesn't really matter front, so I thought the same thing, though.
Agreed, but if you're saying that you do not want to see the ganged up ones
At the end, right. To
You'd want to
define
clarify that.
Yep.
The shore would be at the top of the drawing.
So vague, the facility shall be no longer a dimension than necessary to carry on the activity.
I know, I saw that. It's necessary. That's not really.
Temporary
it's
pier,
nice,
dock, or
but-
wharf and non-title shall not be wider than 6 feet for non-commercial uses. But when is it a width, when is it a length?
Well, they all have to be perpendicular to the shore with the exception of one to allow for the L and the T. Then they wouldn't have to change my dock.
But I mean, is there a, when Chris makes an evaluation or you make an evaluation, is there a maximum length that T can be?
No, I don't think there's anything that.
Because, I mean, you think about it, that T is what's parallel to the shore, so.
Yeah, but you just use one, right? We use one section. Sections are all 10 by 6. So we just have,
But what if somebody wanted to do 2 at the end, is what I'm saying.
yeah, you get one.
Oh, you're saying you get one.
Yeah, that was me. I was
I'm not saying, I'm saying right now, is there a limitation, though, that's what I'm
Oh,
asking.
no, there is no limitation right now. That I know of, at any rate. Maybe, there's none. But if we address it as, you've got to have perpendicular, your 6 by 10 dock sections perpendicular to the shore, and one 6 by 10 section is allowed to be, perpendicular to the perpendicular dock.
And is 6 by 10 the nominal sizes?
I think that might be just a standard size.
Most-
that should come in on
Most of
the-
your residential are 4 foot wide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, lengthwise, are they 10, 12?
The one I just put together was 2 6s to make a 12.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was wondering. I mean, if you make it just so it's 6 by 12, it's a 2-to-1 ratio. It just might make it easier. I don't know.
You may have to go longer than 10 on that one side too, because you have a 20-foot boat. You might need, an 18-foot boat or something. You might need more than 10 feet on that T.
That's what I was getting at. How do we? What?
What's the number?
Even still, like, it should be one.
But I tell you, most boats are going to be docked along the longer section of the
Yeah, I know.
perpendicular route. They're not going to.
Right.
Yeah,
It's 10 feet long enough
It's
for
really
a
for
boat.
loading and unloading, right?
Yeah. So if two 10-foot sections are going to be
That
plenty.
would for most,
Yeah. And then if you have the 6 that goes to the T, but you make it an L, then you got loads of.
Yeah, I guess I understand that too.
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, clarification, so, fun discussion, right? But what you guys were saying is you would rather prohibit people from fattening up the end?
Right. We don't want it to be a gathering place. I think the docks are supposed to serve as just egress from shore to your boat. You get a lot of people out there, you get a lot of weight, people drinking, collapses, stuff going in the water. It's not supposed to be where people are partying.
So just the flip side of that, though, to me, is that's the boarding place for people to get on and off boats, and much safer to have a broader area than people trying to get onto a 4-foot section or 5-foot section, so. I see that a lot. Mine is.
I know a lot of these come from pretty much like Dockmaster, and I'm just wondering.
They're all kits, yeah.
Kits, if we should just reach out to them and find out what the common size is.
The configuration.
On configuration, just to give us a little background data before we just kind of arbitrarily throw things out. I mean, because I'm guessing it's like anything. You can have anything customized that you want.
Yep.
Right.
But what is kind of the nominal, when you buy a kit, what do you typically?
Most of them are just straight. You're driving in and out. But, I mean, if you went and putted around the lake, you'd probably be a 50-50 shot that you see 10 by 12 platforms at the end of all these docks. So there would be a little bit of kerfuffle, I bet.
And then I guess the question is, since they're temporary,
We're pulling in and out.
Put it back in next year, and now you in violation?
How do we enforce that?
So if you have a temporary dock now, and you have a section that is larger than this, now it's a temporary structure, so they have to get a permit every year to put that dock in? Or is it a one-time?
I hope not.
The thought is it goes in the same every year.
Yeah.
If you're going to move it, I think that we like information regarding that. But
Right, when we go get a permit for those, we apply and we say what we're going to do with the dock itself. So, I mean, if it was approved in the past, then how can we go back and say, now you can't do that?
Well, how do you document that, though, I guess is the question. Everybody's got to come up with a new.
Right.
They're going to have docks that have been out for 15 years and come in with a new one that's bigger, just because they know it's one and done.
Or transfer of ownership between houses.
Right.
That person doesn't like that dock anymore, and they throw a new dock in.
I think we just need to go back. I think it'd be good to get, I don't know, maybe reach out to a couple of the dock people and just get some information on what is a nominal size. I don't know. I mean, I've seen so many different sizes on these things in around the lakes and everything.
Oh, yeah.
So what's a fair for somebody new coming along? Right.
You see them with canopies on them and plenty of
well,
space
you've
for
got,
sitting.
a lot of them, like Bob says, some of them have lifts, right?
I
on
was
the
gonna
side.
say, a little boathouse that's on the water, I mean, those are still legal in the state of Maine.
Mhm.
You know, some places don't allow.
Right,
but-
but I mean, the lifts are, right? They don't really, that's not part of the dock, right? The actual crank
Some
lifts?
are.
Yeah, it's part of the dock kit, but they come in and out.
But
just
do we
like the
count
dock.
that as,
As
does-
the width?
yeah,
I don't think so, because it's not really.
It's
part-
submerged,
It's
yeah.
lifting something out, it's kind
yeah,
of
it's not like
over
a,
the boat, not something somebody's standing on.
This, I guess I should have researched. Does this come from a neighbor's complaint, or did this come from somebody asking for a permit?
I was gonna ask the same thing.
Board of Appeals, I think.
Yeah.
I know it came to the Board of Appeals.
Oh,
I was just wondering, Sandy might know. Sandy, do you know how this came to the Board of Appeals?
They had a couple of administrative appeals about docks, and they realized that they wanted to have a better understanding of what was allowed.
Complaints from neighbors or just?
From
from
neighbors.
Okay.
it's only gonna be a growing concern as the population.
And one was
Yeah.
from a violation.
Okay.
I wonder if there's any state guidelines out there, or DEP recommendations,
I
or
don't think so.
anything we can
I
lean
think
on?
this is a
No?
nightmare for every code enforcement officer on a lake.
We could spend all summer just dealing with the docks.
Bet.
I mean, how many docks are in town? I bet you half of them don't conform. So,
I guess we could approach it by square footage and not worry about the design.
Well, you could have maximum width
Maximum width
and
and
then
square
and
footage.
square footage.
Yeah.
Let them figure out their orientation.
Right.
And then a ratio for the orientation, like if you want to have one
Yeah.
sideways, then it's a ratio of, you know, it can't be, it could be twice as wide as the platform, you know, as the initial gang, if you will. Maybe a ratio. That way, if you have 4 feet or 6 feet, you can have a 4 feet or 6 feet this way.
Right.
And so it doesn't matter what the size is, to your point, I don't know, there's gonna be a standard, but if it's custom, if you have an 8-foot wide, then you can only be 8 foot this way at the end.
I think
Maybe.
that makes a lot of sense. The only thing is that if you're on a lot where you have to reach navigable water, you're gonna have to go out pretty far. You might exceed.
But that section would still be the same, no matter what it is. If it's a 6 by 10 section.
Well, but
and
the
you have
area is what
12,
Bob's getting at.
10
But
of
the
them.
area,
Sure,
right,
the area, right,
the
the
area,
maximum
the
area, right.
maximum area
Yep.
would,
Right.
yeah. But on a deeper section, you know, if you have a maximum area, people aren't gonna build a dock further out than they really
Right,
need to.
right.
I mean, it's,
Depends on the shoreline, really.
yeah, it depends on the shoreline.
It's a tricky one.
I like the ratio and the square footage. What do you guys think?
I do too.
Yep.
Well, we
I
could,
mean, we don't have to worry about design. What do you think? Is that,
I like it, but it's gonna be tough for people who have shallow water.
well, not if we give it a long enough square footage, right?
Yeah.
I mean, assuming that, I mean, if we're okay for people at shallow, we're gonna be okay for people with deeper sections, but if it's a deeper lake, people aren't gonna build way out on a
Right.
deep lake. I mean, they just wouldn't pay.
Right.
It'd be too expensive.
And we're not putting a cap on the length, we're more or less putting a cap on the width.
On the width,
What you
right.
could build at the end of it.
Yep, with a
So
ratio.
either way, you can get to manageable water.
Yep,
well, that's the other way you could do it. You could just let them go as long as they want to navigable waters, and then just put a area cap on the end, on the end.
yep,
That might be the easier.
yeah,
way.
the easier.
Mhm.
Yeah, when you start getting in deeper water, it's really a pain to
Right.
install the dock and remove it every
Mhm.
year, and you don't, there's not gonna be a lot of demand for that, I don't think.
All right, what do you think, Brett? Can you work something up for us?
Sure can.
Will it make sense?
I don't know.
Will it be easy?
Does that sound good, everybody?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. And then our fire department, which is done on here. I think that's it for our
Yep.
discussion today. I didn't think that'd be too hard. All
Just
right,
to let you know, I think the other one that Chris, you and Sandy may have a conversation is with Phil, our attorney, about ADUs, and where we stand with compliance to the state.
okay.
It's messy all over the place. It's not an easy ordinance. state ADU ordinance, yeah. So I think we need guidance from Phil to make sure that we're in compliance with the state ordinance.
Okay.
Because if we aren't, then the state ordinance could supersede local.
Oh.
Nobody.
All right, but before we get by that, can we, what I hope to be able to do is to get all these ordinances done into the smooth, get them to the attorney, and then get them back for public hearing. And while we're still in the process of the other ordinance revisions. So we don't have one day of a whole series of ordinances to have public hearings on. So we have instead of, what we normally would do is, Jay, we want normally, or actually historically, we would work on all of these ordinances, get them all to the lawyer at the same time. They would all come back to us. We would have the public hearing of 10, 15, whatever, 5, whatever ordinance changes that we would have all at one day. What I'm proposing, and you guys cut me off if you don't like it, but what I'm proposing is that we do this as a series of events, so that these now get turned into the ordinance revisions. We get them to the lawyer gives them back to us. We hold the public hearing, we pass them, so we vote for approval or disapproval, and then they'll go into the holding pattern until the selectmen want to take it up.
So you just want to do it earlier, is what you're basically saying.
I want to do it earlier and more often. So we approach them in a series of events instead of one big event.
Basically, looking at your ordinances, I think the dock, and if we get into ADUs, those are the only two that are gonna take any kind of time. The rest of these are pretty.
Right, that's why I think I'd like to do it. I like to move these along and get them over with.
And if you do get one that does drag out, it still buys you some time to do it right.
Right, exactly.
So you could punch 4 or 5 of the, basically the first 7 of these out in one shot.
Yeah. And I think that we're close enough in an agreement that as long as you can put something together on the dock, I don't think that's gonna be a problem. Is that right? Everyone pretty happy?
Until you have that public hearing.
I'm sorry?
Right, until you have that public
Yeah,
hearing.
yeah. Well, I mean, you have to start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so next round then of ordinances. I was hoping Greg would tell us more about his small lot proposal. The other thing is we need to go back to solar, just for a review. So.
Oh, because you wanted to, well, it changed, right?
Right.
It's not allowed, the only zone it's allowed in is in the R.
Yes.
So the question would be then, even in the R, we wanted to come back to buffers?
You're right, yeah. So what I think I'd like to do, or I think what we should do, and you guys kind of tell me, is that I think that the ordinance that is in effect right now should go to the town's attorney to make sure that the town attorney finds no conflicts with our ordinance. And then also to you guys as well to review, to make sure there's no conflict with any of those any of the existing ordinances, which includes you, Jay, you and Chris, to go through that and find out if there's any difference. Then the next meeting, we can look at that,
Right.
and decide whether or not, what we need to change, what we don't need to change, or whether or not, we need to do anything. Is that?
Because what came up was, right, a buffer was only the same as the side set, or the rear setback.
Yes.
And in that particular zone that we were dealing with, it was relatively small.
It was very small.
And then the question was, did we want to match what a commercial use would be up against a residential neighborhood, or do we want to go something different?
Right.
Do you have a preference? Or do you want us to propose kind of an option of 2?
Yeah, I think we should look at the options and see what.
I mean, in the rural district, obviously, you usually have more land to deal with, so.
Right. Will you guys have time to do that for the next meeting?
When's the next meeting? December 11th?
I think the big push will be, can we get it through the attorney?
So Jay, can you get it to the attorney?
It's not so much getting it to the attorney, it's getting it
I know.
back from the attorney.
Yeah.
That may be one that we have to
So-
wait till January, I don't know.
We might have to. Could you get it to the attorney? I should have started this last week. Can you get it to the attorney and just get a feel from him, and then just let Sandy know
Yeah,
as to whether or not we can put it on to the next agenda or not?
yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, other than that, we've got the fire department's sign size. We've got, if we want to tackle a noise limit or a quiet zone. Does the town have an ordinance? Kevin, does the town have an ordinance on the noise?
No, we don't. Well, only for animals.
Only for animals. All right.
Typically, what we've done in the past is we relied on the DEP standards.
It's gonna say, there's just state law already.
There's gotta be a state law,
There's a
right?
state law already, so.
But
that's-
you can make it.
The state follows the national codes for those.
So we're gonna make a law for a law.
The only
So we're
thing
gonna
is
do
you've
that.
got,
It's already a
under the
state law.
DP, you've got a quiet zone and a non-quiet zone.
All right, so can we cross that one off?
Or do you,
Well,
or do you
I
want to?
think in order for us to post something, we have to have an ordinance.
If you
Whether or
can't
not we
enforce it.
enforce it.
Right,
We can't post it unless we have an ordinance.
So we need an ordinance that says we're gonna be the same as the state ordinance.
We can't enforce the state law in our own.
It's.
How does that work?
You're allowed to enforce it if you want to enforce it, but you can't post it unless you have an ordinance to go by. Once you have an ordinance, you can then enforce it and post it.
What are you gonna post, quiet zone, or what will?
Right, I mean, if you're on Casco, is it 121? There's a
Route
pit, a
11.
gravel pit up there. They post a quiet zone and no engine braking. That Casco has posted there. I looked and they don't have an ordinance for that, but
I think
unless they
that's
don't have it
because that
online.
pit was a contract zone, Kevin. So I think the town had the right under the contract zone to do, Sandy and I were in, we were in Casco at the time. That's a contract zone and they were allowed to put other standards in place as part of the contract zone. So that's why that got put in place.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I've noticed those, and as I've been looking for those around other places too, so it's.
Yeah. It usually comes into play with operations of loud noises. You know, I face it a lot with quarry operations, things like that. But he's right, you do see it with this high truck traffic or industrial
We have,
uses.
yes, we are, Egypt Road is a high truck traffic going over the pit in Gray and coming back through is, and not only, gravel, but it's concrete trucks too, so it's.
It's a little bit more difficult for vehicles on public roads than it is for private property. And I think noise ordinances, I'm wrong, usually get enforced with private property uses, right? More than over public way uses. So it's the operation that's going on a private property.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to enforce. You gotta.
Well, somebody's gotta have a decimal meter and, and it's a whole, but I do think that we could mimic the state DEP ordinance, at least get some standard in place.
All right, we'll put it on for the next meeting.
Other
Discuss it
towns
tonight.
typically use that DEP standard.
We'll save.
Well, it's like enforcing the speed limit, on a state road. We can't do that, but we can, try to at least put some signs up and some monitoring and gather some data. I mean, if we don't do anything, it just doesn't get any better. And it may not get better if we do this, but we have to try at least.
Right, it's just like if somebody has a gas station or marina and there's engine noise, there's a certain decibel that you're not supposed to, somebody can't be out there revving their engine,
Okay. So Sandy, next one, we'll do solar if Jay gets back to you that says the lawyer can do it. And we'll do quiet zones.
Back to the solar, are we gonna talk more about that, or?
Next meeting.
We're gonna wait?
Yeah, we're gonna wait until we get all the data back, all the reviews back from both Jim and Brett, Jay and Chris. And
So but at this next meeting, we'll be able to propose some changes, possibly, or additions?
oh yeah, it'll be the workshop for solar.
Okay.
Yeah, because the only change was commercial, right?
Yes.
Changing the private
Yep.
uses, right?
What I don't have anything else on my list of changes. Seems like we're missing some. I'm missing some, but
On the fire number, the 911, section 6, I just wanted to make a note that it says on E, Interior location, all residents and other occupants are requested to post the assigned number and road name next to their telephone for emergency reference. I don't think there's too many landlines, and I don't know if there should be an ordinance.
Carry it around in your pocket.
Carry it around in your pocket?
No, that needs to be-
No, you have to have a magnet on the back of your cell phone.
So I don't know.
Where's Wayne? He didn't join us.
No, Wayne is not here.
Now, we all used to have stickers on our phones. We don't
Yeah.
remember that, but
Mark, you think that's antiquated?
yeah, I was saying, I remember having the sticker as a kid on the phone, 911 or whatever, but I don't think we have.
I don't know who deals with
Yeah,
it.
it's kind of caught me off guard. I'm like, oh wow, look at that.
Yeah, so,
Post it next to our.
so Brett also brought up a good point, under the back of that, there's enforcement, but typically if you have enforcement, usually you've got,
Some kind of appeal process. It talks about notice of violation, but there's no way to appeal that decision.
What are we talking about right now?
In the fire addressing,
Oh, that's next week. That's next month.
okay.
Next month.
I got you.
We got that next month, we got solar next month, and we got quiet zone next month. Sandy, those are three for the announcement.
Got it.
Do we have any, this one won't, the pre-app probably won't be back, right?
Filing deadline is next week, the 13th. I don't know if they're gonna turn it around quick enough or not. I have to wait to see.
Okay. You want to wrap?
That's good. I mean, that'll be fine. We'll still knock these out.
Yeah.
And then, because solar may take us a while.
And then Christmas party,
And then Christmas party, yeah.
Need
You
a
guys
motion-
happy?
Need a motion, chief.
Always.
Need a motion, chief.
We do.
Pass these on for review to the.
No,
No,
for us
that's
to
not the
lose.
motion.
Go home.
Unless you want to stay.
Already?
Motion to.
Is there a second?
Second.
You'll second that? All in favor?
Aye.
There goes the pirate again.
And not collect the data from one, just to see if it made a difference.
Flashing. Yeah, it's just, you can only set one speed on it right now. That's all you can do, so we'd have to pick a road that it's at 55, which we don't have in.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, they would be
For a
so
couple of
excited. They'd be like, oh, yeah, hitting the speed limit. This is great.
There's a programming issue with it.
Got it. Okay.
Well, I think to borrow one that works and get ours fixed, that's the first step, yeah.
Great.
It's a great idea, Sean.
No, I appreciate it. It wasn't my idea. It was just a comprehensive plan, really looking forward here. So can we open it up to people on Zoom?
Yes, absolutely.
Can anybody on Zoom or in the audience want to give their thoughts, whether you are experiencing, is this a good idea?
Can I just speak up on Zoom? Do you hear me?
We can hear you. We
Welcome.
can hear you.
Okay. This is Vicki Woodbury, 20 Egypt Road. We have a real issue here. And as far as the 45 miles per hour, just a note on that, be careful what you ask for. I sent a note to DOT to see if they'd put a speed sign up for 35, and that's when the 45 sign came up. We have people entering Egypt Road, and it's like they're entering a speedway. As soon as they hit our road, they speed up. And it's so loud we can't hold the conversation in our driveway or in our lawn. We have to be quiet until they go by. You've got people who've modified their mufflers. You've got big trucks. We've got a truck from Drew Excavating that uses its engine brakes at least twice a day. I also have a picture of them from our security camera on Monday, passing a car in front of our driveway. And if you know where that is, there's a hill right there. There's no way if a car came over the hill that they would have been able to moved back over, and someone would have been killed with that big drum truck. We get a lot of people passing right there. It's the no passing zone. So that's really, really dangerous. We have to close our windows at 5 in the morning because the traffic is so loud. So yeah, the speed is just horrible. The vehicles passing, the noise. So I just wanted to give that input.
So it was originally 35 and they brought it up to 45? Can you elaborate?
No, I thought it was 35 at the beginning of the road because there used to be a sign as you're coming from 302 and turning on to Egypt Road. There was a 35-mile-per-hour sign there. My understanding was that would, come into Egypt Road for a bit before it went to the Egypt Road speed, but that sign got taken down. So I was assuming it was still 35, but apparently not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
So could we make a motion to borrow, might need Nate's help again with it, let's borrow, where was that specific sign that we could borrow from?
Cumberland County, I can call them, see if they'll loan it to us.
To recommend that.
Yeah, make a motion to recommend that.
Well, we don't have the power to tell them to do it.
Okay.
No, I'll do it. You don't have to, I'll take.
I don't know if you need a motion either.
No, I don't need a motion.
Yeah.
I'll take care of it.
But it's, yeah. So he'll do it.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. Next, we have public comment. Is there any public comment anyone would like to make? Okay. Budget Finance Committee comment. Any comments?
Good.
Okay. All right, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. All in favor? All right, we are adjourned.
Welcome to the Tuesday, September 24, 2024 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting of the Town of Raymond. The Zoning Board of Appeals will come to order. The board does have a quorum. I'm now going to do a roll call. David Murch.
Tom Hennessy. Pete Lockwood. Fred Miller.
Greg Dean, our vice chair, is unable to attend tonight. This is a public proceeding, and unless the board specifically votes to go into executive session, you have the right to hear everything that is being said and to look at all of the exhibits that are presented. Please notify the chair if you are unable to see or hear. The board works from a published agenda and will be considering tonight's items in the following order. Number 1, call to order. Number 2, approval of minutes from August 27, 2024. Number 3, old business, administrative appeal for 36 Merch Landing Road. Number 4, new business, administrative appeal for 32 Shore Road. Number 5, code enforcement officer communications. And then finally, number 6, adjournment. In each instance, the burden is upon the applicant to demonstrate compliance with the provisions of the applicable ordinances or state law. After the board votes on the merits of each application, it will prepare a written notice of decision. Because the notice of decision may substantially affect any appeals rights, and also as a matter of courtesy, the board asks that those attending the meeting with regards to a specific application not leave until the board has completed its discussion. Generally speaking, appeals from adverse decisions must be filed with the Superior Court as otherwise provided by law within 45 days of this board's decision. Also, to be certain that you preserve your individual rights to file any such appeal, you must be certain that the board's record evidences your appearance this evening in opposition and the basis for your opposition. All persons speaking, including representatives of the applicant and members of the public, are asked to stand at the microphone, to sign the speaker sheet, state their name, address, and affiliation with the application, being for, opposed, or neutral. All persons speaking shall address all remarks or questions to the chair. This meeting is not over until the board has formally adjourned. Any discussion not included on the meeting agenda or accepted by the board is to be held until after adjournment or conducted outside the meeting room. So
First up is approval of the minutes from August 27, 2024. Have you all had a chance to review them?
Yes.
Can I get a motion for approval of the minutes?
I motion approval of minutes.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Do we have any further comments? All those in favor of approval? Unanimous. Old business, administrative appeal for 36 Merch Landing Road. Applicants Karen and Bill Burke, location 36 Merch Landing Road. Owner O'Connor. Description, administrative appeal of a permitted second dock, permit number 2024146. This is on the table. Do I have a motion to take this off of the table?
I motion to take it off the table. Second.
All those in favor? Unanimous. So I did receive on September 11, 2024, Sandy Fredericks received an email from legal representatives for the Burkes. They have requested that we table this matter until the next meeting. The reason for the tabling is that they are currently in discussions with the O'Connors with regards to this issue, so they're looking to come to a resolution that doesn't require the need for this administrative appeal. As a result of this request on the 11th, we subsequently canceled their site walk, which was scheduled for 9 o'clock on the 14th. Yeah, so if we do decide to retable this, we will bring it up for our next meeting on October 29th, and we will schedule a site walk for the October 19th, Saturday. Chris, do you have any concerns with tabling this for another month?
Nope.
Okay.
I have no concerns.
Yep. Any comments at all? Thoughts?
No comments.
Okay. Can I get a motion to table this appeal until the next meeting?
David,
Yes.
you might want to wait a moment on that because the attorneys for both parties are here on Zoom.
Oh, did not realize.
That's why I'm telling you, sir.
Hello, everybody. I'm hiding behind my mugshot. Sorry.
So,
I don't have any objection to the way this is going, Kelly. If you don't, this seems like a reasonable path.
Yeah, just so the board is aware, Attorney Howe and I arranged a meeting between our respective clients, and that meeting proved to be both productive and cordial. And there were some very good discussions about potential resolutions. Attorney Howe and I are working on taking care of that, getting that documented. It is our hope that we will report back to you that the Burke's appeal has been withdrawn. At this time, of course, we're not withdrawing it. It needs to remain live. And so we appreciate the fact that the board postponed the site walk, and we are requesting that the board table this until your next meeting, again, in the hopes of delivering some good news to you.
Sounds good.
And for what it's worth, I can confirm, at least for our side, that a site walk on the 19th and hearing on the 29th would be just fine for the O'Connors if it came to that. I think the hope is obviously that we don't ever get there.
Okay. Mr. McDonald, you're good with the site walk on the 19th as well? If it comes to that?
Hopefully. I have no idea what my client's schedule looks like, but we will make it happen if it's necessary.
Okay. Well, I guess with this, I mean, we're considering tabling it, yes. But what I don't want to do is to continuously postpone a site walk. I still, if this is still an open issue, I want to work towards getting this resolved from the appeal perspective. So I don't want to sort of just continuously postpone. So I would prefer to hear from you, yes, we're good to go on the 19th, or no, we don't want to do a site walk on the 19th.
Chair, we are good to go for the 19th.
Thank you. And I apologize for not noting that both of you were here on Zoom. It was my understanding that neither of you were going to be present tonight, so I apologize. And that was not intended to be a slight on either one of you. So.
No offense taken. Happy to blend into the background.
Well, very good. So we have our motion, we have our seconds, we've heard from the attorneys. Any further discussion on this? No. Okay, all those in favor of tabling until the next meeting? Unanimous. Okay.
Thank you all very much. Thank you very much, everybody.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
New business, administrative appeal for 32 Shore Road, applicant Sheena Joe Randall, location 32 Shore Road. Description, administrative appeal of a notice of violations issued on August 7, 2024 for installation of a dock and shed without permit. So our board did do a site walk on this property on September 14th. Tom Hennessy has come up with a site walk report, which I will go ahead and have him read now.
Zoning Board of Appeals site walk report on September 14th, 2024. The ZBA conducted a site walk of 32 Shore Road, Raymond, Maine, belonging to Sheena Joe Randall, in consideration of her administrative appeal of a notice of violation for installation of a dock and shed without permits. Attendees were from the ZBA, David Murch, Peter Blackwood, Fred Miller, Tom Hennessy. Other attendees, code enforcement, Jason Williamson, and the applicant, Sheena Joe Randall, Judy and Doug Morrill, Dennis Martin, Teresa Ellis, Peter and Sue Slavinsky. Site walk started 10:10 a.m. First reviewed the 32 Shore Road property. Began with a review of the property and location of shed. Property includes a 2-story garage with a large concrete slab foundation attached to the left, viewing from the street of the garage. The shed is located far left of the property and appeared to be new. Ms. Randall stated it was a 10 by 20 shed, was installed on skids in November of 2023. Ms. Randall also stated that her original plan was to locate the shed on the opposite side of her property, but she decided to install it on the left side instead. Property markers were visible and rough measurements were taken to verify setbacks for the shed. The rear of the shed was approximately 17 feet to the sideline. The front of the shed was approximately 15 feet to the sideline. Then we progressed down the right-of-way and the dock. We walked the 10-foot wide right-of-way to the lake and saw the large boulder at the lakeside. The aluminum dock was also viewed by climbing on the boulder. Site walk was completed at 10:30 a.m. Respectfully submitted, Tom Hennessy, ZBA member. Note, these notes are reflections but are not factual findings made by the board.
Good. Fred, Pete, any corrections that you would see or want anything added? Yeah. I want to get it officially entered into the record, so I'm going to ask for a motion to get this officially entered.
I make a motion to put it in the official record.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor? Unanimous. Okay. So, Sheena Joe, I know you're here tonight. We essentially have two issues at hand. The notice of violation for the shed, notice of violation for the dock. Two separate issues to be addressed tonight. What I'd like to do is first have our discussions with regards to the shed. And the way that will work is you will present to us your case for having this appeal. Then I will see what Chris has to say with regards to this as well. And then is there anybody here tonight, either on Zoom or in the audience, that would be that considers themselves to be an owner to this right-of-way?
Can you hear me?
I see Ryan Martin lit up. Yes.
Yeah. At 35 Shore Road.
And you would be considered an owner to this right-of-way?
Yes, sir. My wife is actually the one on the deed, but she's picking up my son at football. We own it together, but officially she's the one that owns it.
Okay. So what I'd like to do is when the time comes, I'm going to give Sheena Sheena Joe, I apologize, an opportunity to speak with regards to the shed, Chris an opportunity to speak with regards to the shed. Then we will transition to the right-of-way property. I'm going to then give, again, Sheena Joe a chance to speak on this issue. I will then transition to yourself. If you would like to have opportunity to speak on this issue, you can at that time. And then I will transition over to Chris. Once everybody has done having their opportunity to address this issue, we will then open up to public comment. I do see some other people on Zoom, people here in the audience, so if you wish to speak with regards to this appeal, you will have an opportunity to as well. And then we'll close public comment, and then the board will review the appeal. So does that all make sense, Brian?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. So, Sheena Joe, if you want to go ahead and come up to the podium there. Please make sure to log your appearance. So there on there's a sign-in sheet.
First, I want to thank the board for their time this evening. My name is Sheena Joe Randall. I live at 32 Shore Road, Raymond, Maine, and I'm actually the appellant in this case. I was issued a notice of violation on 8/7/24 from an inspection that was done from your code enforcement officer, I think in late June 28th. And in that violation, it stated that I put a dock in the water without a permit, as well as he noticed there was a shed on my property without a permit. Upon receiving the violation, I went to the town hall and filled out, actually on the computer, I filled out 2 applications for shed permits as instructed by the violation, and took them to the town hall, one for a shed that's not there yet. And in the midst of looking and going over my paperwork, I noticed on my original plan, my original plot plan for my addition and my groundwork and where my septic works were going to be and my tanks and all that other stuff, that there was a shed on that plot plan. It didn't say the size of the shed at that time, but I noticed in my notes on the side of the plot plan, it stated in the square footage that I paid for my permit, it was a 10 by 17. So when I went to buy my shed, I bought it. It was handmade. It was done by Hickory over in Cornish, and I had it built to a 10 by 20 to fit my needs, and built on skids so it could be moved in and out as easy as possible. I did not want it built on site because it is over near my well, and I don't know what was going on there. So just in case I had to move it, did all the measurements, put it in place, and that was it came in November. And I guess Chris had noticed it, and I didn't realize I had violated any ordinance because I thought it was on skids, and somewhere on wheels or skids, it didn't need permits. So I filled out the appropriate paperwork, and I have not heard anything from either one of those, and that's the shed. It's there. I think it's within my setbacks. I think everything was measured properly. And it was on my original plot, so I don't know if it's included in the $1,595 I paid for my building permits. But I haven't heard back from the second shed application either.
So you did submit.
Oh yeah.
After the fact.
Oh yeah. Right afterwards, because I was going by what I thought at the time, and I know that there was some rules that were changed. I believe in June, your ordinances were updated, and I haven't had the chance to look over the fine print of all of those, but and I didn't remember it being on the plot plan until I actually saw it on the plot plan. And I think you have a picture of the plot plan in the paperwork regarding that first one.
So I did make a request, and we all should have a copy of the permit application that you had, not the one you just recently submitted for the shed specifically.
No, the original.
Yeah, the 2022-113.
Yeah. I think
So
And some of this madness that, I did take a picture of that original plot and older pictures of when I was developing, when I was creating the plot itself.
now I have reviewed.
Oh, yeah, I have it right here.
What was provided with this permit.
You'll see the September 5th letter back to you. It's actually attached to that building permit at the end of that submittal. My building permit for the property, and then the plot plan.
Yeah, what I'm not able to determine, I don't know if it's because of the scan, but I am not able, I do not see on the permit application a request for a shed, nor do I see the shed on the plot plan itself.
Yeah, if you look right down here where it shows you the gravel drive, where the gravel drive would be, there's a little box and it's noted shed right next to it. And then next to that was the septic field. May not have come out on the photocopies.
This is on the building permit, Dave?
Yeah, this is with the actual permit itself, although I do believe it got the
Which is
plot
the
plan.
backside we're talking, is that, we talking about the backside?
It would actually look like it'd be this one. I know there's 3 of them there. The actual,
This
yeah.
one here, right?
Yeah, the actual survey plot plan.
Is there any indication on the permit application itself, not with regards to a shed though? The request for that structure?
I don't see it noted on the actual application. Everything was done individual, I mean, the septic system, shed, you know, I don't see it noted.
Yep.
Other than just, because we did have to go over it, because in the beginning I had a balcony on the front of the building. And I had to change the plans at that. I had a little 6-foot balcony off the 2nd floor. And I didn't have the setback for that.
Okay, Dave, on the 3rd page here, the 2nd one down, it says shed, then a square, then an RV. Is that part of the permit? You see the first one says 28, 36, looks like, I assume building. It said 10, 17, then it looks like it says shed with a square box with RV.
Same thing.
Unless, okay.
Make sure I'm looking at what you're looking at.
This piece right here. This, I think it's the
gotcha.
3rd piece of, Chris, is this the 3rd piece of the permit, of the permit application?
That wasn't part of the original.
So this isn't, this wasn't filled in with this?
No.
So there's nowhere in here that says,
Correct.
these are the only 2 pages that actually go to the permit, is that correct?
Correct.
So this is
What I
something that was
gave
made
you was
afterwards?
what was submitted at the time of the application. That's what is in our system.
Okay.
And the purpose of me moving the shed is when my septic field came down. It didn't leave me enough yard space on that particular side that I wanted to keep, so I moved it to the other side.
Yep. Ed or Pete or Tom, do you have any questions at this point for Sheena Joe?
I do, I think.
That's with regards
I'll
to
let
the
them
shed,
go
though.
first.
Regards to the shed,
Yeah.
though, only?
Yep.
Okay. Whoever wants to.
You guys want to go first? Brad, Pete, anything?
I guess it's just one of the things that comes, you know, that was highlighted is that it went from 10 by 17 to 10 by 20. So I don't know if that's something that automatically gets covered by the permit, or if that's something that needs to be corrected.
Mr. Chair, do you want me to respond to these questions now or wait till the end?
I want to see if these guys have any questions specific to Sheena Joe, and then I'll have you respond.
Sheena, Joe, you had also mentioned that the skids was something that you thought allowed you to build it because it wouldn't
in
be
the
on the
beginning,
roof. I mean,
in the beginning when I was designing my project, because I've done most of the design myself because I needed to keep all the utilities across the back of the property. In designing it, it could very well be the 10 by 17 is what I thought because my portable shed is a 10 by 17. But when I went to make the purchase, they don't build them 10 by 17. So I got the 10 by 20. So, and your question again, I'm sorry.
so the reason for putting the skids on, you thought that allowed you to.
Right, in the
build it.
beginning, I was noticing.
Did you find that written anywhere, or?
Well, I thought I saw it in the ordinances somewhere. It's just a small, on structures, outside structures. That if it was on wheels or skids, it didn't need a permit. I can't tell you where I saw that. It could refer to ice houses. It could refer to a lot of things.
Right. And when it's Chris's turn, maybe he can help us, because I couldn't find it looking through the ordinances myself. Did you really have any intentions of ever moving that shed? I mean.
It's where I would like it to be. Because when the addition goes up, it leaves me, it's in a spot where the privacy comes into play for the addition. I mean, the project is probably 50% done at this time.
Right.
You know. And I did put in a permit application for an additional shed, which will go on the other side to replace the portable one that's there. And that's being built under a 10 by 16. But that was a whole different application, whole new application I dropped off that I have not heard back from.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yep. And I just want to verify, is this the permit application? Okay.
Without looking at it, I can't tell you if it's the same thing that, if it's in your packet that I submitted to you guys on request.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. I believe you have the correct one.
And can I ask you a question?
Of course you can.
This stuff here lined up here, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is them?
So that's a no.
Yeah, but does that mean that that's onto this, or is that not onto this?
That would be, she was probably, I don't know.
So
You'd have to ask her.
Afterwards, or if I
You'll
was-
have to ask her that question, and I'll address that when I speak.
Okay, just so you know what I'm talking about, Dave. This is the one I just showed him, and what I'm seeing here is, we don't know how that got written.
Okay. Sheena Joe, I'm going to give you a copy of this permit. That way you know what.
I think
to
I know what you're
reference.
talking about. It was trying to come up with the.
I want you to be able to.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Have specifically what we're looking
That's what I'm talking about, Peter, on this one here. Just had him look at it, make sure it's not a permit.
Oh, yes, yes,
Handwritten
yes.
here along here, but on the bottom of the shed is
Thank you.
her handwriting. If that was not the permit.
Which is interesting, yes. Here, it has 120, but then 200 below it as well.
So did you have a question for Sheena Joe, Fred, with regards to that?
No, it was more for, I wanted to know, because Chris had mentioned that the other one I was looking at was not the permit that was issued. I wanted to make sure this was the one, and when I saw that it had that shed written on it, if that was something that was put on by when we gave him the permit, or was that something that was added?
It was on there when I submitted this.
I would agree with that statement.
That it was on there?
Yep. And I'll explain when I.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Tom?
I understand you believe that your setbacks are correct, but they're not. So, and the setbacks have been in place for a decade or two, at least. The side setback is 20 feet, the front setback is 30 feet. And based on this survey, it says you have 6 feet beyond your garage to get to your property line. 6 feet closer to shore, towards Shore Road.
I know the garage has a setback to 6 feet from the CMP easement, correct?
Well, it's not the CMP easement, it's Shore Road right-of-way. This little path of Shore Road might be 15 feet wide, but the right-of-way for the road is 50 feet. So all those trailers and everything else you have parked is in the right-of-way of the Shore Road. You don't own that property.
This sounds like a whole different discussion, because I've talked to CMP about the easement and who has rights to it. And I've talked to DOT regarding.
I'll let Chris
Yeah.
pick.
No,
when he
I've
gets-
gone down this avenue with the Department of Transportation, and it's not a town-approved road, so it's, in the CMP easement cannot be considered part of the road. So
I'll
it's
let
a whole
Chris
different discussion.
pick it up when it's his turn. I'm just trying to tell you my opinion.
Right.
So, and as Pete said, the size is larger than anything that was in writing.
I mean, if that's the case, Shore Road's got a big problem, it not being 50 feet wide.
The
Seriously.
road does not have, it has a right-of-way to be within the 50 feet,
Right,
like a lot of other camp roads around
right. No, I see
this
that.
town. Okay.
But
I
just,
guess-
just for the record, I have gone over this with DOT, and I have gone over this with CMP, so this is a whole different,
No,
this is,
I think you need to have the discussion with Chris. He's the representative for the town.
Chris has had plenty of opportunities to have discussions with me.
And if there are any other buildings or sheds on the property that do or don't have permits, then that's another potential violation that Chris can talk to. So, other than that, I guess my question I'll take up with Chris when it's his turn.
Okay, Chris, what do you have for us to hear?
All right, so the notice of violation is for a new shed installed on the property without the proper permits, plain and simple. So what you need to do to get a permit for a shed, if it's new, whether it's bigger or a shed that's moved, you need a plot plan. You need to show that you meet the setbacks from the right-of-way, as Tom described it, not the road, but the right-of-way.
The CMP right away.
He needs to have a chance to speak on her interpretation.
She mentioned that she had an existing shed of approximately 120 feet. The note that Fred asked about, typically when somebody applies for a expansion in the shoreline zone, we look at many factors: how it's going to be built, whether it meets the setbacks, whether it meets the impervious area as prescribed by the ordinance. The ordinance only allows a lot to be developed in the shoreline zone by 15% of impervious. When somebody applies for a permit, they generally make notation like the one that Sheena made on her permit, that she had an existing driveway. She had an existing building. She was going to do the addition. She shows those calculations. She has a temporary canvas type shed that's on the property, and I am really not sure what I'm not the only code officer in Raymond. At the time, Alex was doing reviews. So we both look at these permits and we look at setbacks, the impervious area, existing conditions. So the survey showed some notation on there, like Fred pointed out, it had some existing conditions. I did not get any information about a shed, new shed, that was 200 square feet or whatever it is. I don't have any information whether it met the setbacks. It wasn't figured into the calculation for her permit, which was based on square footages of the addition and the renovations to the garage to make it a single-family dwelling. So as far as the DOT, the DOT has no jurisdiction on a private road. DOT has jurisdiction on state roads, and that's it. The town has rights to enforce our ordinance on private streets, public streets, but this isn't a public road for the town of Raymond. It's private, just like the one that Tom and I live on Haskell Avenue. We live in an area that has a 12 to 16 foot road somewhere in that 50-foot right-of-way. Same thing that Tom was referring to. We live with that. CMP has no jurisdiction on buildings or things in that right-of-way. They have an overhead easement for their lines, or underground, depending on the situation. So, you know, as far as Tom's comment about other NOVs on the property, we're not here to talk about those tonight. We're just here to talk about a shed and a dock. So if in fact there are other violations on the property, that would be something that I could look in after this appeal, but not tonight, if that's fair enough. I'll let it go at that, and she can respond accordingly.
Do you guys have any immediate questions for Chris or Jason? Would you?
So I guess my only question is, so as you look at this permit, there is no permit for a shed? That
No.
shed that we see in there
Absolutely
just
not.
is showing that she had,
If there was,
was it 120
it would have
foot
been in
shed
the
that was
description, and
already
she would
there
have
at
had to
one point.
pay for the
Right.
square footage of the new shed.
Okay.
Which would have been included in the permit fee, which it wasn't.
Right, which makes sense.
If there was
This was
some
talking about the shed was
misunderstanding on her
already there.
part, that's why I asked her to do an after-the-fact permit as part of the resolution. She still gets to have an appeal, and I'm not going to act on a permit while it's going through the appeals process. So as soon as this appeals board meeting's over, I'll address her concerns about the shed. Basically, all I'm going to need is a plot plan showing it meets the setbacks, and she can have a permit if it meets the impervious area as well. She's got to be less than 15% lot coverage. If she does that, she'll get a permit. End of story. But as of today, as of when the NOV went out, there was no permit.
Okay.
Do you guys have any other questions for Chris at this point?
I guess one quick question is, if it currently isn't within the setback requirements,
It's a
it's going to be
violation.
moved.
It's a violation.
Right. Okay.
Either needs to be moved or removed.
Sheena Joe, did you have anything you wanted to add, given that?
My
Chris was-
understanding, my setback was 15 feet side to side, 30 to the front, 30 to the back, so, or 20 to the front at the time and 30 to the back. I have it written in the older notes of the home plans.
Yep. And I'll take a moment, because I've as I've gone through some of the information that you provided to us, and you just made the comment, it's your understanding. So when you say it's your understanding, it would be good for us to know specifically what ordinance or statute you're referring to. So
And I don't have that information, duly respected, I don't have that information in front of me.
Okay.
Okay, I truly thought I met the setbacks for my shed.
Yep. And that's
So
fine.
if it
I
has to
don't
be
mind.
moved,
I don't
then
mind
it
you
needs
saying
to
that
be
it was
moved.
your understanding, but for us
Right.
to actually consider it, we need to know specifically what it is we need to consider.
No, you're saying it needs to be 20 feet from the sides and 30 feet from the front?
That is not us. It would, whatever our ordinance is saying, Chris
Is that
would
what
be
the
the one to
ordinance says,
speak
Chris?
specifically to
The
that.
ordinance says 30 feet from the front property line and 20 feet from the side and 30 in the rear.
Okay, well, I got the rear, I got 2/3 of an acre there, so I'm not going to worry about that. So we have 20 feet from the sides and 30 feet from the front. And that's 30 feet from my 6-foot setback grandfathering of the front of my building, correct?
No,
My garage is 6
it's
feet from
from
the
your property line,
Okay.
which
so
is the
30
right of
feet
way.
from the property line, well, from property line.
And don't forget the 15% lot coverage.
Well, I have 2/3 of an acre there. I don't,
Well, we don't know until you give us the figures.
you don't know I have 2/3 of an acre, is that what you're saying?
I didn't say that.
Oh. Because these figures
So,
here
well,
was 22.
Sheena Joe, let's
Yes.
go ahead and leave the specifics to an after-fact permit for
Okay.
after this meeting.
All right, so is he requesting me, is he requesting me to do another application for the shed?
At this point, we're still considering your appeal. So if we find in your favor, then there's no reason for you to have to submit an after-the-fact.
Well, respectfully, it appears that I'm wrong on my setbacks.
Well, and I will respectfully say the board hasn't ruled on it yet,
Okay.
so. I mean, Chris has his opinion, and that's fine, he should, but it's not his opinion tonight that is going to make this decision. It will be the board's collective decision as to whether Chris has erred in his decision for a notice of violation or not. So we'll decide collectively as a group to that.
Okay, so on my checklist of things that I put down, these totals here, was the existing building of 1,008 square feet. And then the addition was 576 plus 144 respectfully. Then the porch, the back porch was 192. The grill patio was 144. 16 was a fireplace foundation. These are all part of the plans to finish the building. 96 square feet for a walkway and 120 square feet for a shed, which totaled up at the time of the application 22,296 square feet is what went along with the original application to put the addition on the house. And it was all on the plot plan. Most of it is pictured on the plot plan of what I wanted. And I do believe that the square footage for 2/3 of an acre is 29,040 feet, somewhere around there. So at 15%, I don't think the 2296 meets that.
Yeah, it's not really for us to make a decision as to.
No, I'm just saying what's existing there now.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
is on the original plan.
Okay.
So,
Go ahead, Tom.
When she's done.
Yep.
I have a
No.
question for Chris.
go ahead.
So, Chris, the building permit for the expansion, you issued a building permit for that, right?
Yes.
Have you ever done an inspection of progress? Or Alex or whoever?
Yes, I've been to the property and done some foundation inspections. I believe we did framing inspections, plumbing, electrical, heat pumps, and insulation. That's where it stopped.
And that's the second floor
Correct.
piece.
Okay. I'm getting ready to transition on to the dock unless anybody has anything else to ask or convey with regards to the shed.
Now,
All
talk
good?
about our audience.
Yeah, but we're not open to public comment yet, so we'll get that when the time comes. So Sheena Joe, we'll go ahead and transition now to the right-of-way property with notice of violation of the dock. Go ahead and.
Okay, so my desire to have a dock at Lot 62 A, which is a 10 by 200 foot lot that runs down between 31 and 35 Shore Road, across the street from my gravel parking space. My desire dates back to 2015, the people that lived there at the time, the thoughts and ideas that came into the head at the time. The biggest opposition we ran into was this big boulder sitting in the water at the end of it. So as construction progressed and did not progress due to the mass construction projects that were done at the end of the road during the last 2 years. My ideas went into effect. 31 Shore Road got sold, 35 Shore Road got sold. I had some objections to both those owners to my ideas, and proceeded to get told that there were 10 owners. I had to clear it through the town with permission slips from all 10 owners that I could do this. I didn't believe there were 10 owners, so I proceeded to do title searches on all the homes from number 2 Shore Road all the way down to number 39 Shore Road. I have title searches to every piece of property on Shore Road in Raymond, Maine. Analyzing those title searches showed me who had rights to the boat launch at 22A, who had rights to 46A, which is another right-of-way that sits just before number 9 Shore Road, and who had rights to 62A, which is the one across the street from me. My findings showed that the titled rights to 62A belong to 4 people. I should say not 4 people. Well, 4 people own the 7 lots that it was given right to in its development. The lots that have rights to it are 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, and 103 respectfully are the back lots of Shore Road on the other side of the road, the back lots. So I myself own lot 99 and 100. Jonathan Stickney, my owner, who has a recent home built up on the hill, he owns lots 101, 102, and 103. Each one of those lots have their own individual rights to 62A. The title search was clear that each lot sold had its own particular right to 62A and 22A. So, and then you have lot 98, which is owned by Ellis Martins, and lot 97, which is owned by the 27 Shore Road LLC, the Reale family. And those are single individual lots that they keep their sheds on and park their boats and do whatever. Those 5 lots that are owned by me and Jonathan were wooded for ever. You know, and in 2015, I bought my lot, and I believe Jonathan was able to get his 3 lots in 2018. I think it was 2018 that he got them, or 19. So I have two homeowners that live there year-round that wanted access to the water through their deeded right. And we were being told they couldn't do that, that we had no right to, we were trespassing. You know, that was their property by the new owners of 31 Shore Road. And up until recently, it was brought to my attention that 35 Shore Road felt they had a deeded right. Upon finding that information out, I did in detail take their title search and note it, and sent them a copy of that through the mail, which was delivered on the 20th of September, showing them their complete title search. It was a 21-page title search. I think you have it attached to all your documents that you can certainly show your town attorney. That does not show any rights. Any rights that were ever belonged to 35 were sold off when lots 99 and 100 were sold off. They went with those lots. They didn't stay with 63, 64, 65, I think their lot numbers are. So upon everything that I found, it got to the point where we couldn't use the right-of-way at all during the summer. There was construction materials, trucks parked, people building materials. So for the last 2 summers, it's been unavailable for use anyway, because it's always loaded up with building materials from 31 Shore Road, or their trucks, or their men doing their work, or it was just very uncomfortable to even try to go down there. So I left the project on hold. So this past spring in March, I started cleaning the property. Spoke to Alex several times about the dying trees that were placed there from number 35 at the time, which was Debbie Mosier. Her late live-in had planted trees along the property line of 62, lot 62A and 35 Shore Road for privacy in their front yard. And we were out there one day, and after a survey got done, because I've had 3 surveys done to that line alone. The first 2, the pins were removed, they disappear. So then this last survey, the surveyor actually put deeded pins in the ground with numbers on them. It said if anybody removes them, then they're breaking the law, because they just kept disappearing. So we found that the trees were planted on the inside of the right-of-way. So Debbie didn't have any problem removing those trees, so she had them lopped off at the top, so they would stunt their growth. And then as soon as I started working on my project, I could remove them. Well, in the meantime, Debbie sold her property to Lisa Martin. And once again, you know, they wanted everything to stay the same. In my title searches, I found that out of the 4 owners, the 2 that have waterfronts, which are Ellis Martin and Lisa Martin, those particular lots, those waterfront lots, do not have deeded rights to the right-of-way. It's their back lots that have the deeded right. So you have 2 full-time homeowners there that are being told by these people that have waterfront property, you know, 100 feet. They have their own beaches, they have their own water, they have their own lawns, they have everything. I'm not keeping them from doing anything, but they're not allowing me to enter the water without conflict. So my research showed me that 62A has markers. They're all pinned off. The Martins did their side, I did the other side. From 62A, at the end of that lot, it goes to what's called the shoreland, you know, which extends out into the water. It's my understanding that the town has control up to the high water mark, which includes a lot of that shoreland. And then beyond the shoreland, you have this big boulder. It's like 8 feet wide, probably 6 feet tall, kind of flat and awkward at the top, but you could get out on it. You know, you couldn't get in the water in it because they, you know, they tell you to jump off it, but there's only like 18 inches to 24 inches of water at the bottom of it. But the rock does sit in water 365 days out of the year, and it's beyond the low water mark. So I did some more research, you know, as far as who owns the water. You know, Thomas Pond is owned by the state. The rock sits in the water. The rock's owned by the state. And I don't find that the town has any jurisdiction over where I placed that structure for me to be able to, and for Jonathan to be able to, enjoy a deeded right to the water. It's not keeping anybody from doing anything. And that's the question here. Who owns Thomas Pond, and what am I doing that's keeping any of the owners from doing anything? It's not obstructing anything that they do on the right-of-way. They don't use the right-of-way. They use it to cross back and forth between their yards, which is their right. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with anybody being on it. But I'm being told I couldn't have the structure in the water. You know, they called the warden service on me. The Ellis Martins called the warden service on me. You know, he showed up on Monday morning when town was closed. He comes over and he says, well, I don't see where you've done anything wrong there. I told him the lake belongs to, you know, they don't own the lake. The lake belongs to the state. Nobody owns the lake. And the town can only control what goes to the high water mark. And sure, you don't have a harbor master that can be out there policing what's going on the lake, you know, and that leaves a lot of the policing to the town. But I don't feel that my structure that I put past low water mark, it's got 10-foot posts on it, so it's not attached to anything. It's a standalone 4x4 with a ladder to it, with a galley plank float and a 6x16 float after that. It's used for kayak. I didn't even put the paddle boat in. There was so much conflict about it this year. For the kayaks, the paddle boats, you know, whatever me and Jonathan decide to use. So I just don't understand why I needed a permit to put a structure out on a state water that the town doesn't have any jurisdiction over. And that's it in a nutshell, but with all the other stuff that's been brought up, you've had the pleasure of reading, you know, all the things that go from side to side every time something's brought up. I have to respond to that, even though it's not related to the simple fact is who owns Thomas Pond, and did I have a right to put that structure there past low water? And then the markings are clear on all the rocks. You know, the rock's in the water 365 days out of the year. You can't move the rock. And we don't have the convenience of all the other right-of-ways that are in the neighborhood, including the boat dock, of where the ground goes directly down into the water and it's easy to walk down in. I'm a 65-year-old woman. I'm not going to have my neighbor telling me to jump off the rock or fall through the tree. And that's what I got. You know, and they've done everything that they could to deter me from using it. You know, but they recently put up this beautiful cedar fence. I think it's beautiful. But if they use it so much and it's so important to them, why did they just block it all off? You know, nothing makes sense to me. The whole thing doesn't make sense to me. I have the right to that water through my deed. You know, I tried to work it out. I spoke with Alex many times of building a little 2-foot walkway that goes down the shore where the birch tree is. You all saw the birch tree. I had to take the limbs off 2 of it because the wind broke the limbs in half. Those had to come down, a very dangerous situation down there. So I left most of the tree there so you could see it, but early in the spring in March, I cut off 2 smaller limbs that were scooting across and had dropped. You couldn't even get under the limb to get into the water. You know, and your comprehensive plan tells people that, you know, when you have areas like this, and you have problem areas of getting your access to the water, that the town, you know, would cordially like to help people like that. And I'm not getting any help. Just getting a bunch of conflict. And then getting a notice of violation that I put the dock in the water without a permit. I didn't need a permit. It's on state property. I truly don't think I need a permit for that dock sitting in the water. It's not attached to anything.
I had a question for you.
Sure.
So you mentioned Jonathan Stickney. Is he a co-owner of the dock?
Me and Jonathan both own the dock, yes.
Okay. I'm just wondering, is there a representative for Jonathan here tonight other than yourself? I mean,
just me.
Okay. In some of the pictures that you submitted, I noticed that there was a private property sign strung across the front of the dock. Specifically, who is allowed to use the dock?
I put the private property sign up across it when the dock first went into the water, because one thing that the state warden brought to my attention, he said, everything looks fine. He said, I would worry more about your safety coming off that rock onto your dock, because there's a little space. There was a little space there. So his recommendation was come up with some sort of a gap, you know, something to close that space off. I told him, I said, I can't attach it to anything. It's on 6-foot steel posts as it is, 10-foot steel posts as it is. So I put it up there so nobody would step down on it. I had the ladder chained off and the walkway chained off. But I needed to have a railing, some form of a railing that could come up over. You saw that. Yeah. I have injuries from past work that I'm not very stable when I'm going down or up, so I needed a handle. So we had the custom, but in the meantime, I put that there so that nobody would get onto it until I could cover the gap and put the railing on. All right? When we got the railing on and we covered the gap, it's still sitting there, chained to but it's not blocking it from doing anything. And it does state right on the back of the sign, who owns it, 32 and 34 Shore Road. Who owns that structure? Just like I put it on my mooring balls. Who owns the mooring, you know, what number belongs to the mooring balls? If I had anything else there, I would probably have my address on it too, because if something happened, they need to know who owns the floating apparatus.
So I recognize your statement of you and Jonathan owning the dock. Who is permitted to use the dock? Are the people who have right-of-way access?
They have rights to the right-of-way.
Well, no, okay.
They have rights to the land.
Please give me a chance to
Okay.
answer this question. What I want to know is, do these people also have your permission to use that dock? Or is it specifically for you and Jonathan and whoever?
I guess that question can go both ways. Do I have permission to go out on their floating docks?
So that's not answering my question. Is it only you or Jonathan and people that you have agreed to that are allowed to use that? Or can people who have access to the right-of-way also use that dock? Is it a simple yes or no? Can other people use that dock who have that?
The structure was put in there for the use of me and Jonathan.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a copy of the actual deed and what the right-of-way actually grants?
It's listed in all our deeds that have the right to 62A.
But what specifically does the deed allow? Does the deed, what?
It tells you that you cross over the shore land to the shore.
Can you point that out for me, please?
I can't remember which one I attached my deed to. But it says the same verbiage is on all of them, along with the, let's see if I can find it. Swan to Gillespie. Let's convey together with the right of way.
Is your lot 100?
Yes.
I can see it there.
Is it the vague one that says together with all?
I'm not sure.
Together with all rights of way of record?
I gotcha. So Joe, the one he's looking at, it's labeled at the top. It says Swan to Gillespie.
Right, Swan to Gillespie, 100.
Corrected from
yeah.
developer.
Says the above described premises are conveyed together with the right of way to and from the premises over Shore Road and Libby Road to the Meadow Road, so called, and also a right to the Shore Road over lot 62A, section 3, lot 22A, sheet 1, section 1. That's the 22A is the boat dock, and 62A is the lot. Most of them say you've either right to cross over 62A from Shore Road to the shoreland.
Thank you. Thank you, Fred. Do anybody have any questions for Sheena Joe at this point?
I don't at this point.
Yes.
Ryan, as owner to this property, this right-of-way, if you'd like an opportunity to speak specifically to this dock situation, you can certainly take some time to do that right now.
Yeah, I'll make it fairly brief. So Sheena and myself, we've never actually had a conversation. So, and I know my wife did not. We came up for camp and the dock was there. We weren't really sure what was going on. As far as our comment on blocking the right-of-way, that has been open. I mowed it all last year. I'm not sure what that is. The grade stakes, I guess those are the pins. They've been in the middle since the spring. I think multiple people have rights to this property. I guess that's probably my biggest sticking point. It's not that anybody's trying to keep her away from the water, but I know she did the title search. She sent it to us in the mail. It seems like it was not an official title search, but one that she did in town hall. But multiple people have rights, and it doesn't seem like she went through the right channels to see if it was even okay with everybody that had those rights. It's her comment about the mooring balls. Those are both directly out, kind of following the line of property out in the ocean, which is, or the lake, which is weird. The fence that she brought up for Dennis, basically, she's been taking pictures of our people at our house doing work, taking pictures of Dennis, his construction. I think he was just not speaking for him, but I'm pretty sure it was just trying to get some privacy without somebody peeking at him. The dock, when it got installed, there was a big no trespassing sign. Again, didn't have a conversation I mean, I'm not going there for conflict, but just, it was clearly stated that it was, don't go there, not allowed. Other than that, again, we just believe that there's probably multiple people that should have access, and if there's a dock, it should be everybody's right. Not, I mean, at this point, what's to say if this goes okay, if someone else has property rights, that they can't put a dock there next year, and then Sheena can't have hers. So it doesn't really make sense to me. But that's all I got.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Anybody have questions for Ryan? Okay. Chris?
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Ryan's right. We've never met. I've had 2 conversations with Lisa. First of all, it's been no secret that I've wanted this dog. I mean, I went after looking for the Reale family, who owns 27 Shore Road LLC, because they were one of the owners right off the bat. And my findings found that estate was left to 8 children. One of the children left his shares to his 3 children. It's just a big family thing there. And in the letters that I sent them, I gave them descriptions of what I was looking to do with the right-of-way, as them being one of the owners. And one of the paragraphs in those descriptions is stating that I would have no problem with them adding kind-like parcels, kind-like sections to this dock if they wanted a place to bring their kayaks or their paddle boats. It's in the letters. I offered that right from the beginning when I started contacting the owners. And Lisa, my last conversation I had with her, she thought about the kids fishing off that rock, and I could see why there's probably better fishing, because it's out in the water. The rock is in the water. And I told her I would have no problem with her kids fishing off my dock. They'll put the ladder on that side, and there was that side for once, the only reason. Me and Jonathan had a conversation and said, kids are going to be kids. Lisa's got kids. We've never had kids down here, but Lisa has kids. And he said, you're right. So I have no problem with Lisa's children being on that dock. If I have no problem with people adding kind-like pieces to it. If they want to take, I wouldn't want anybody taking a slab of wooden dock and adding it to the thousands of dollars we just spent on the one that's there. But the offer was made. And I finally got through to the Reales after several attempts and a home visit to where I found one of the Reales living in Portland. I actually went to his house and left him a letter inside his fence. And then I reached out to their LLC attorney. And that's how I found out the information regarding them and reached out to them. They chose to abstain from